Welcome to the Galen Trombley Show. You can find me on Facebook at Galen Trombley, on Instagram at Galen Trombley, and on YouTube at Galen Trombley. Spelling GaelanTrombley. Enjoy the show. Welcome to the Galen Trombley Show. We're just gonna roll. So now we are live, Joel. So,
okay. All right.
We had to cut everything Joel just said out for
for legal reasons.
For legal reasons. So Joel Wood back, friend of the show. Dan Frederick, first time on the show. I'd say friend of the show. He's listened to
long-time listener, first-time guest.
There you go. I like that. He called in. He won the sweepstakes to be on the next Joel show. So here he is.
You found it on a bubblegum wrapper, I'm pretty sure, right?
That's he got the short straw. So he's with us today. But Dan, Joel, you guys are. How'd you guys meet?
High school.
Yeah.
Beekmantown.
Was it high or was it middle?
So I think it was somewhere between, because I came from West Shazy and you came from Cumberland Head.
How many years have we been going strong now?
More fingers than I have.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive.
I think when I don't know who I met, like when we were talking about it, but then you put two and two together, you guys were college roommates at one point?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's actually a pretty funny story.
There's a lot of stories there.
So I chickened out for college, to be perfectly honest with you.
Here, Dan, pull it.
Yeah. So I chickened out for college, right? I was so anxious about applying to colleges that I just decided I'll go to the closest one. I'll go to the one that I know.
Okay.
Went to Frederick State. Figured I'll just show up on the first day, and I didn't want to live with my parents. I wanted to live in campus.
Yeah.
Didn't have a plan for roommates. You had a plan for roommates.
I did. It fell through, though.
It fell through on the first day.
Yeah, they were going to triple bunk me. I was
think,
like, no bueno.
Were we in the office at the same time? I think we ran into each other on that day.
Yes.
And you were like, my roommates fell through.
Yes.
And I'm like, I don't have roommates. And we went, roommates.
I lied to the housing office. I was like, I have asthma. And they were like, you do? And I was like, I have whatever will get me out of being triple bunked.
A bunk bed and a floor bed.
Yeah.
I got 6 toes. All right.
Yeah. I have fins and webbed feet. And they were like, oh, yeah, you can't be in a triple. I was like, no, I can't be in a triple.
So that was it. Just like
that was it.
Yeah.
But you guys obviously knew each other before that.
We did. We were good friends through high school.
Yep.
We ran the stage, you could say, for Model UN in the area.
Yes.
We had a regime for
yes.
like 3 or 4 years in high school. Took it international, won some international awards.
Yeah, we went to Harvard Model UN together. We were partners, so it was always you partnered up, and Dan was the enforcer. That's what I used to say. You used to have to try to get people to like sign on to your resolutions, and I'd be like, Dan, we need like at least 3 countries to sign on to this resolution. He'd like go out and get like 7. And they'd all come back. They'd be very afraid.
Well, I go to the shy kids in the back.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey, just sign this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it was like good cop, bad cop.
It was.
So Dan was by far the bad cop.
Strong cop. I guess I don't know. I don't know. Like the enforcer, like I said.
Yeah. The muscle. No.
Yeah, he was the guy in the back line of hockey, defender on the hockey.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Basically, just
Model UN's pretty cool. Are you familiar?
I was
around here. It's
in
kind of
it.
a thing.
Yes. Well, I never was in it. So
Gotcha.
So we went to Shazy. That now has a pretty good program. They started back when I was a kid. They literally started. I was eligible to do it, and I was like, I'm not doing it. And it wasn't because I thought it was like dumb. I just didn't want to put the time into it. So I was kind of maybe lazy on my end, or like I was in sports and stuff, and I just didn't want any more on my plate. But the guy there that runs it, Steve Cross, who's been there since.
Remember him?
No, I don't think I do.
You would if you saw him.
Hoorah, like he's a big military guy.
Oh, yeah.
Like he actually left to go over. He got deployed when he was my teacher.
Bald?
Yep.
Yes, I do know him.
Is
yes.
he bald?
Yep.
Yeah,
Bald
or
now?
like.
Oh, he had hair. He had hair back then.
Okay.
He's bald now.
Okay.
This was years ago.
Not to out Mr. Cross here.
Sorry,
he's
Mr. Cross. I apologize.
He's got a big, so you guys, this was like 2005 maybe when I had him, and he had deployed over to Iraq because he was active military at the time too. So he was a teacher,
wow.
and so it was a great story with him. But big, huge beard, and end up basically taking it from nothing to I think now they won some really big award last year.
You guys were always our biggest
school something like
at Harvard.
They won a Harvard Small School Award. You guys might know better.
So we did win that when we were in school,
yes.
but no one's won it since us.
So
that'd be a big deal if they got it.
Yeah, so they got that. It was a big thing. They won it at Model UN in Harvard.
Whoa. They won it?
They won it. They took our spot.
They took our spot?
They took our spot.
What are you doing next weekend?
Let's go to high school, man.
Let's go get those signatures.
The enforcer. It's the sound effects. I'm back for sound effects round 2.
I don't even need a switchboard. We're good. We got Joel. Now, what was okay? So first off, before we get into other stuff here, you guys both kind of made an appearance in here. Dan came in first, carrying 2 tote bags of. We have about 18 different ways to make coffee here. I like coffee, and to be honest, I feel like I'm not even worthy to sit at this table right now with the amount of coffee that Dan just brought in.
I just like coffee,
and I like coffee, but. You got an aggressive setup here. I know what most of them are, but some of them I don't. So I'd like you to explain. And then Joel comes in with a kettle, and the first thing Dan says is starts talking about the kettle, and then he's wearing an elf Christmas hat.
No, it's not an elf Christmas hat.
That's Yoda.
That's Yoda,
my friend.
You got to put it on for a reprieve.
And
I will.
Dan basically completely looked over the fact that he was wearing this Yoda Christmas hat and started talking about the kettle. I'm like, wait, can we talk about the hat? Like, why is it?
He texted me last night, and he's like, "Do you have a holiday tie?" I was like, "Yes, but I can't find it." He's like, "Do you have anything holiday themed? Sweater, hat?" I was like, "Yeah," and he's like, "Wear it." And then he doesn't wear anything. This is our friendship. This is what we do.
Did you guys match shirts too?
Well, yeah, I'm glad he did that.
So I did that because I felt bad later on that you'd show up in a holiday
theme. Did you know you guys were wearing salmon pink-ish shirts?
Yes, that was the plan.
I have elf pajamas, from the movie Elf.
I wish you had worn those.
I was close. I had this feeling deep in my gut like you were pulling my leg. So I was like, I need to do something that I can get out of. I need to be able to take off my hat. If I'm sitting here in a onesie for the entire podcast episode.
Bring yourself up.
What's your make the photo?
Yeah, it would. It would. Galen, what's your favorite color?
Green.
Okay. Buddy the Elf, what's your favorite color?
Blue.
Okay.
Why am I Buddy?
Well, no, I was I think that was from the movie, right?
Oh, right.
Yeah, but wasn't his favorite color candy cane or something?
Yeah,
Multicolored. Great movie.
Yeah.
But so that was a joke.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you actually walked in. It was good. You walked in, you owned it.
He didn't know it was a joke.
He was a Yoda Christmas wearing hat with a kettle. Basically brought us the gift for the kettle. So
I told him we were playing a joke on you. I told him we were going to joke you and wear Christmas outfits.
And baby wipes. I brought in baby wipes too, and I'm still not sure if they were part of the joke or if we needed them for something.
Wait, that was you who brought it?
Yeah.
Why?
Just because.
He just makes me bring random things.
You said bring baby wipes.
Yeah.
So did you go to the store and purposely buy baby wipes?
No, he asked me. I have antibacterial. Is that okay? I'm like, yeah, it's fine.
I have a Costco amount of baby wipes in my
did
house.
You have the white and green one with the green pop top?
I probably do. I have a lot. I have a lot of baby wipes.
We have that Costco box, and we're still 2 years into it.
The wipes?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I have wipes. I just wanted you to bring them, by the way.
He also asked me for a 1919 wheat head penny. I looked all night, man.
I kept texting every hour until he found it.
So I read the Lorax, my son, and he asked for 15 cents and a nail and then a great grandfather snail. So that's part of it. Just these random things you got to give to the Lorax or the Onceler, I should say. So so what do we got here for coffee? Are we waiting for the kettle still to?
I'm not sure when that thing will pop off. Do you?
It already did.
How do you know?
The little thing in the back there, it turns from orange to white. Unless, did you already pop it down?
I did. Pop back up.
Yep. Then it should be good.
Okay.
But we'll
it's not
do
hot.
it. We'll take. Okay.
Okay, so that light just went on. So this might have a few more minutes to kind of boil up.
We probably have about two minutes.
It's fine.
Yeah.
We got time. Yeah. So why don't we go through what do we got for coffee
absolutely.
here, and then we'll dive into it. So this is a coffee pod right
So we brought all freestanding. Oh, here now. Freestanding coffee roasters or coffee brewers. So it doesn't require a stove. It just requires some way to heat water. They all can be also used to do iced coffee or cold brew. But since it's a quick brew, it's not going to get the same benefits that cold brew has. I figured we'll start with the V60 pour over.
Okay.
It's a very neutral.
Is that the Chemex?
Very similar. So a Chemex is its own unique design, and it's all basically the design of the funnel down to the opening. So if you go to a traditional pour over, the opening at the base of the funnel is super small, and the funnel's rather steep, and that causes the coffee and the water to sit for a little bit longer, so it has a longer expression from the beans. The V60 is a very classic roasting or brewing style that has that wide bit, so it flows through very quickly. But the condition of water and the glass is very similar to a Chemex. The Chemex is a little bit more narrow, a little more steeper on the sides. So it'll be very oily, very full bodied.
So the V60 is that what kind of filters are you putting in that? Flat filters?
Nope. So it's going to be a cone filter.
It will be.
It'll look like a Chemex filter.
Okay. All right.
Although I think most Chemex filters are kind of one piece that folds in on itself versus the V60s. They're pre-folded, so it looks like it's the brown bit next to Joel. It's kind of a brown triangular napkin that you then pop open into a cone instead of wrapping in on itself.
Okay, so we have that, and what's the next contraption?
We've got a French press.
Okay.
The classic immersion style. And then I brought an AeroPress, which I know you're familiar with. But
I have that and a French, and then that's just a grinder, right?
It is just a grinder.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Okay.
So the AeroPress is going to be a combination of both with the addition of pressure. So the AeroPress, right, requires you to press on it.
Right.
Joel looks very confused.
Right.
So I got to break this down very simply for him.
For the listeners back home, behind me, sitting on Galen's desk, just to paint the picture for you, it looks like a cross between an apothecary lab.
Yeah.
The scene from Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Yeah, that's what I would say. I mean, we're really taking this to whole new heights.
So there's like 4 bags of coffee over there.
There are a couple bags of coffee, yep.
Creamer over there.
Just in case anybody wants to...
Do you guys take stuff with cream or no?
So bad coffee, I put cream in it. Good coffee, I take it black.
Okay.
So I'm hoping today. I'm hoping today we all at least try it black.
I'm the same.
I know. I've worked with Joel before.
I'm a cream guy.
Yeah, you make it look discolored.
Just a splash. Yeah.
If I look at it and it's not black, like I'll put like heavy cream in my coffee. If I go like certain places, if they have it, I'll add it. Just kind of like the thickness of it. But 90% of the time it's black.
So that's the cool thing about the AeroPress is that you can take the coffee you make is super concentrated and dilute it with water. So it almost becomes Americano style, where it's a diluted espresso.
See, I love Americanos.
But you put cream and sugar in your Americanos, don't you?
Splash of milk, I believe.
So what the milk or cream does in coffee traditionally is it cuts the acidity, and so coffees that are brewed hot tend to have a much stronger acidity level, especially when they're concentrated the way the AeroPress is.
Okay.
We made the board game day we had. Lord of the Rings for like 16 hours.
Right. I've done the Aero.
So we did iced AeroPress that day. Yeah. So we spent 16 hours playing the Lord of the Rings role playing game.
We recreated all 3 movie films in board game fashion.
In one board game.
Wait, did you make it up?
No, it's a board game that you can purchase.
Okay. I was like,
it was in our heads the whole time.
It's
it's
like 300 pieces.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
It's 300 miniatures. You recreate every battle from the Lord of the Rings universe.
You're supposed to.
You can, yeah.
I've never played that. I have Monopoly up there. We've never opened it. I know it's a long game. At one point in time, I'm just going to have Monopoly game night in the boardroom. I just want to like set it up.
That'd be awesome.
And just play Monopoly with people that want to play and just know it takes a long time and just say we don't care. We're going to play.
Yeah.
So then, okay. So the AeroPress. Dan, I still use the recipe of the AeroPress that you texted me like a year ago. It was like and the thing is, it's like I think 200 grams of water. It's 19 grams of coffee, 200 grams of water. Mix it, 75 grams of water. Mix it, and then basically just press it out. And it tastes fine. It tastes great. I've always used it. I haven't really played much with it, but you told me they have like an AeroPress like championship.
So they have the World AeroPress games.
No way.
Yeah, he was telling me about this.
So what I just handed you, Galen, is an espresso cap for an AeroPress. So
espresso cap.
It has the pressurized valve on the end of it. Because the problem with the AeroPress is that it can't build the full 9 to 13 bars that espresso requires.
Okay.
But by having that pressure valve on it, it lets it build up a little bit more, like closer to 6 or 7 versus like 3 to 5.
So you cap this on the bottom and spin.
You do. So instead of your filter, you put this on.
Gotcha.
And it creates more of an espresso type brew.
So you don't need the paper filters with that one.
Correct.
Okay. So we're going with the, was this V60?
V60.
What's V60 stand for? Sorry, Dan's off mic, so you can just yell. That's fine.
I don't actually know. V60 is just the Haribo classic manufacturer.
Okay, so basically we're just warming up the water right now, warming up the mugs, making sure the mugs are nice and toasty.
Is that part of the process?
Well, it's nice to warm up your mug just so it's not cold. It's more, I think it's more of a taste thing, but I don't know if it actually affects the coffee. It just keeps your coffee.
Yeah, it's definitely a texture and.
Yeah, it's like anything else. It's like a little bit of hot tea. Like you just want to make sure that it just warms up the actual mug.
I like that.
Because like your mugs, typically mugs are cold. So if you have like a nice warm mug and then you put warm coffee in it, it keeps your coffee warmer longer. So it's kind of, it's like a cheat. So you don't need like a pot or. Do you use a heat plate at all? You know the people that put like their mug of coffee on a heat plate so it's always warm?
I have one at the office.
Does it work?
It's one of the ones where you can take it off the heat plate and it's still got a battery in the bottom of it. Mm-hmm. And then you can keep it on like a certain temperature, like 135 or 140. I like it a lot. The battery doesn't last long, and if you leave it on too long, it kind of like it like creates like this like film at the bottom of the mug, and plus they're hard to wash too. I mean, because they have a battery in them.
Yeah.
So you got to like wash just the inside and not let any water get on the outside.
So the actual heat plate, I've never used one.
Yeah.
But like I usually just put coffee in, or I'll put it like in a insulated mug or whatever, and that keeps it hot.
A Yeti will keep it hot all day.
Forever.
Yeah.
I didn't have a lot of. So yesterday I had coffee in the morning. I met another guy for coffee. I got iced coffee.
Ooh.
So we went to Chapter 1, got iced coffee. It was great. Finished it. Came back. I never touched the rest of my coffee. Last night I dumped out half, like not this size, a little bit smaller Yeti, but half of it with coffee. I didn't even get to it because it's like hot. So you're like sipping on it.
Yeah.
Next thing you realize, like to actually drink like 20 ounces of really hot coffee takes a long time because you just sip at it. Versus iced coffee would have been gone in 5 minutes.
Yeah,
You
quick.
drink it like water. So
Joel's favorite barista is Mike.
his what?
Your favorite barista is Mike. Microwave.
Ah, yeah.
Famous for microwaving his
Oh,
coffee.
I microwave my coffee multiple times throughout the day.
I've done that. I'll do it on weekends if I overmake the coffee, and next thing I know, it's sitting and sitting and sitting.
Yeah.
But now I basically bought something new that keeps the coffee hotter longer. So I have a double insulated. I bought a really good drip machine. So I like doing French press. I like those better. I like the AeroPress. But the mornings, I set up the night before, get in the morning, kind of like do the last bit of prep, and then let it go take a shower, and it's ready. Because French press is more hands-on. You got to be there. AeroPress, same thing. You got to be watching it. You got to be measuring.
Yep.
This is I do all the measuring before, just let it go. So I would say 5 days out of the week I go that route, and my weekends are when I get to like play around, do a little bit of what Dan's doing right now. But I gotta get like a pour over, because I think most people that do pour overs say that that's their preferred method of coffee. Why do you think that is?
I think it's a mouthfeel. I think it's the experience of this process, and it's the mouthfeel you get from it. So my goal is to do this and a couple things back to back, so you can kind of feel them all differently. And so
I'm pumped. So there's basically
It
different
smells good in here.
different flavors. Oh, it smells great. Yeah, it's like different flavors of each is going to extract a different taste for the most part. Are we using the same beans in all these?
So we don't have to, but the main difference in each of the brewing styles is more of a texture.
Okay.
Right? You can squeeze a rock and get water out of it, but the way you squeeze it depends on what you get.
Okay. So
You can't squeeze rocks.
Yeah, I was about to. I was about
I
to
kind
say
of thought,
something.
since Dan said it so fluidly, I said maybe you can squeeze
Oh,
rocks.
I was calling him on it.
But it was kind of like a pressure thing. Eventually, at a certain pressure, it's like there's certain like diamonds. Like at a certain pressure, that's how you get diamonds. Like so, a lot of it's like maybe that's diamonds or rocks.
heat and pressure. The water's got to come out of the rock,
I mean,
right?
at a certain point, a rock has to turn into something if it's compressed hard enough.
And rocks are porous. I'm sure there's water in rocks, right?
We got dump. Was it hot water?
We got to dump this out.
Yeah. We'll go dump it real quick.
Okay.
You guys keep talking. Oh, is it? Did you just chug it?
Just warm water. It's one thing I forgot.
Oh, okay. Jeez, I thought it was like boiling water. That's not bad.
Yeah, that wasn't bad.
That's something else.
I don't think I'm going to drink it as fast as you because I think it like too much might scorch it. But
So today we're not keeping track of our water temps. That's one thing that we're not controlling for. So
Is that a thing that
It's
is
a big
normally
thing.
done? Yeah.
No, it's a really big thing that to do reproducible brews, you want to reproduce as many of the core components as possible. So bean, the grind, the brew time, the extraction time, and the water temperature, and water quality even.
So typically when I boil water, I let it sit for a little bit to go down from what 212 is boiling down to about 200.
Yeah, I do most of my brews right around 197, 202.
So you let it after it hits. Well, I don't actually measure it. I just let it go, and then I'll let it sit for about maybe 30 seconds to a minute, and let it just cool down slightly, and then I'll start pouring it.
Come down from up high.
So it's you actually put like a thermometer in?
I do, yeah.
So I've tried doing that, but then sometimes like it's tough because in the kettle.
Well, that's the beauty of also the AeroPress is that you don't really have to do that. If you put the water in just under boiling, it's rather measurable and reproducible.
Yeah, because it starts to lose that heat very quickly.
Very quickly.
Yeah, so you go from like 212 down to where we're talking within 30 to a minute.
Right, just as pouring it through the air, and then the non-insulated AeroPress and like the glass. That's why the most important thing, you don't always have to warm your mugs, but you should always warm your brewing vessel, especially with a V60 or a Chemex or any kind of pour over, because the glass will extract a lot of that temperature right from the ground before it even gets to the coffee, and the coffee that comes out will be naturally colder.
You see, the microwave. I typically put it on a power level 3 for all of you back home. Power level 3. You don't want to be too powerful. It's typically a 10, and you're gonna microwave it for 30 seconds. That's the quick and easy option. In the mug of which you poured it.
How much volume of coffee is in there?
That's a good question. Usually I can't drink just what remains, which is, I don't know, somewhere between 2.5 and 3 ounces of coffee. So I nuke it, and then I pull it out, and it usually scalds and burns my mouth. And then I'll let it sit until it gets cold again, and then I start the process all over.
So there's some science to this. There's a lot of feel to it. Joel's got, over time, he's just gotten that feel of, did it burn my mouth? It did. Okay.
It did.
So let's sit a little bit longer.
Yeah, that was 27 seconds too long, so next time I gotta... Yeah, there is a scientific method to all of this.
It's kind of, well, I mean, I laugh, but that's how I do popcorn.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's like 230. I'm like, well, 230 burns it. And then it's like, okay, well, 210. Nope, there's still some kernels. Like, I've got it down, I think it's like 223.
You press the popcorn button?
I don't.
Yeah, it's risky.
Does your microwave have a beverage button?
It does. You don't trust that either. I don't trust it.
I use it.
You do?
I use it.
Yeah,
not often.
It's not smart enough, man.
I think the only one I've ever done is like meat, defrosting meat. I'll put like 1 pound of meat and I'll hit it and I'll be like 9 minutes. But it seems risky.
I know.
Seems risky, but I'll trust the microwave people. But
I don't get anxiety like when I see 12 minutes pop up when I'm defrosting meat.
I do.
I get anxiety.
Oh yeah, I do.
Terrible.
I think I get anxiety anything over like 3 or 4 minutes.
I'll stand there watching the meat the entire 12 minutes.
You get anxiety if you don't cook it yourself.
I get anxiety from talking about me getting anxiety. I'm anxious.
Do you cook a lot?
Yes, I do. I'm actually the main cooker in my household.
Okay.
Yep.
Dan, you too, or?
So we've been doing a lot of HelloFresh.
Okay.
And I don't know if I don't know if I can necessarily consider that to be.
I think that's cooking.
Yeah, but
like unique cooking or like individualistic cooking, but yes, I take food and I prepare it into a meal.
What's the difference from like looking up a recipe and buying
it's the same
ingredients?
thing.
It's the same
Well,
thing.
I don't do so when I have the mental space and the time to do it, I love to improv food. Like I love to just wing it. Like
that's true.
Like I'll go like I want curry today, but I don't want to look up how to do curry because I get anxious reading all the instructions and I get anxious seeing all the things I don't have. Mm-hmm. So I make it work with what I don't have. So that's the way I like to cook, right? But I think that comes from working in restaurants for so long when I was in college.
Yeah, Dan worked at Anthony's for a while.
As a cook or front of the house kind of thing?
Front of the house. So I did Anthony's for a couple years in college, and then I worked in Potsdam and a couple different restaurants too.
That's where I got most of my Thai collection was from Dan, actually.
Yes,
yeah,
significant amount of Thai collection.
Physical Thai.
Thai.
Okay.
Thai,
And then Thai food. I'm like, maybe. I'm like, yeah, he's got Thai food. You guys Thai food people?
Oh,
Huge.
yes. Huge. That's what we used to do in high school.
What's your go-to? Is it Sawadee? Is that? I mean, it's only Thai around.
Locally. Yeah.
I think they do good.
Love that place.
Kugai is my favorite. It's Kuagua.
Yes.
Kugai with pork.
I've not had it.
Chicken cashew nut is my go-to. Yom Tom salad, though. You had a Yom Tom salad before?
That's the papaya and carrots.
Yeah.
I might have. So I had a friend. He was Korean, but he like knew a lot of the Asian foods. Like that was like he grew up with it. So he had like a very he knows the sushi very well. He knows Thai very well. So like he introduced me to a whole bunch of stuff that I didn't know what it was called. So I might have had it.
Okay.
Loved
it. Did it smell? Because it smells. It has a smell that's beyond all reproach. Like you.
Well, there's reproach for it. It's the kind of reproach you don't want to have after a night in a college dorm.
Yeah, that's true.
So I don't know if I had that. One of my favorite things he ever made, we called it. Well, his nickname we called him was Sanger. Like I made nothing. Like his name was Heesung, but then we said instead of Heesung, he sang. Then it became Sanger. Then it became Sang. So really, there's no reason why his name was that. But that's what we call him. So he ended up introducing us to this pork, and there was a fish sauce they would put on it. So it was fish sauce with shallots and brown sugar. It makes the most amazing pork chop marinade ever, and it stunk to the high heavens. This sauce, but it stunk like the actual stuff stunk. And then once you mixed it all up and put it with the pork and basically did like a quick pork chop. Grill on it was amazing.
It tastes delicious.
It was absolutely amazing. Yeah. It was so tender, and so we always joked it was amazing, but it was you didn't want to cook it because it was gross. It smelled bad, but
that's a Yom Tom salad.
He definitely knew it was Thai food.
Yep,
I believe that.
Yep, yeah, Thai food's go-to, delicious. I just had it a couple days ago. Actually, they have a new curry on the menu. It's really good. I don't know. It was a brown curry with a rice noodle, I believe, and then it had the crispy rice noodles on top.
Sounds awesome.
Yeah, it had some good stuff in
You
it.
gotta try the Pongaree.
That might have been it.
It's green.
Nope.
It's green. It's
definitely
got
not
a lot of egg in it. It's very good. I think it's over rice.
that. Okay.
Pongaree.
Next time I order, I'm going to text you.
It's like a mild curry, but it's very flavorful. It's super great.
You already know I'm going to Thai food tonight, and I'm taking a picture in front of Thai and sending it to you. Right?
With the finger pointing
just
up.
like the Chipotle one. Yes.
Feels like I'm going to Chipotle. I'm like, hey, you might go to Chipotle. No, 20 minutes later, I got a picture of Chipotle.
Oh yeah, I was there.
Get a big bowl. I was like, I did it. So back to the coffee. So what are we talking about here? Like, what's the flavoring? Like, what?
So this is a Papua New Guinea. Is the bean, which is one of my favorites. Honestly, couldn't tell you specific tasting notes for it without reading it, but it's good.
Now, give us kind of when it comes down to let's call it regions of the world. What's your favorite? So Papua New Guinea, that is out in Philippines, or no? Am I wrong on that? Isn't that out in the south in the Pacific?
I don't.
I want to say it's like out kind of like in the Philippines, north of like New Zealand, out in that way.
We have any listeners from Papua New Guinea? Have you seen that? You look at those data metrics.
You know what's actually funny? People, number one listening base, obviously the U.S. Number two, Canada, naturally. And then number three, it's all over the place. I actually, randomly, I know one guy that travels a lot.
Yeah.
So I can kind of tell where he's been because I can see where he's downloaded. Like he was downloading Italy or Germany. But then it was weird because, and I'll have to, actually I might, Joel, grab my phone right behind you if you can. It's sitting on the cradle by my computer.
Oh yeah, I got that.
I don't know if you can you reach that?
Yeah, I got that.
Because I'll check because there was a couple countries on there that I was actually kind of curious. I'm like, how did that one
Get here?
Well, like, how did someone in this area, and it was a decent amount of downloads, which my guess is probably just one person listening, but they had downloaded like over 10.
Wow.
10 downloads. And it might have been like the Netherlands, or it might have been, it was like a weird.
But you have a fan. You have a long time listener.
I guess so. It was just like an odd, which makes me think there has to be somebody that has ties to the region, because I've never interviewed anybody not in person here. So, like, some people have traveled here. They've been in town and knew that they were in town, kind of coordinated for them to come on, but they weren't necessarily like from somewhere else.
Yeah, but you have a good show, so maybe they stumbled across it. They're searching for, I don't know, the something GT, and then they find your podcast. They listen to an episode. They're like, oh, I can get behind this.
I think
I don't understand a word they're speaking, but I like the inflection in their voice.
Speaking of inflections and voices, do you want us to do an ad spot for you?
Oh yes,
an ad spot.
We'd like to do an ad spot.
We'd like to do an ad spot.
Okay.
So, welcome to the TGTS show, the Great Talking Show. Here we are with Galen Trombley and my co-host,
Joel Wood.
Galen, thanks for joining us today. We are here in the beautiful city of Plattsburgh. We've got a balmy 90-degree day, as Tom Messner would say. High humidity.
Very high.
This show is today brought to you by coffee. Keeps you running through, keeps you running out.
Disclaimer: drinking too much coffee can lead to a number of different problems, including insomnia, sleeping too much, having too many children, having too few children, running, jumping, laughing, on a beach,
Talking too fast.
talking to dogs.
And ducks.
If sleeping too much persists too long, contact your doctor.
4 hours is too long.
We didn't rehearse it.
No.
Okay,
we didn't rehearse it. Was it good?
That was good.
All right, thanks.
You guys are hired.
Great, cool. So for your first question, Galen, what would you do if you weren't a realtor?
If I wasn't a realtor, is this something that I could pick one job and do it? Meaning, it doesn't matter what my skill or knowledge level is, or
So
if something that I legitimately could do.
It would be a rewind back to the first time you decided to be a realtor. What if you had decided that day to do something else? What would it be? Not a tomorrow thing, but a back in time thing.
Okay, so I got my real estate license. I was 21 years old, in college, studying for global supply chain management.
Ooh.
Got a degree in that, so it's a fun fact. I was
didn't
one
know
of the
that.
first classes to get it, because I think when I was in school was the first like I was a freshman or sophomore, and that was their first year of actually graduating people with that degree.
Okay.
So I was probably in the first 3 or 4 years of the degree. Great program, very good around this area. I don't really know what I would have done, because I got my license. I did an internship for it. I hated my internship, not the company. I just hated like what I was doing. Decided to stay in real estate for like 3 or 4 years, and I kept thinking, like, what will I do next? Before it kind of clicked with me real estate selling is boring to me, but like why you do it for the people kind of thing got to me. And then what would I have changed though? That's tough because I didn't really have a plan. I guess I probably would have done something in supply chain just because I had a degree. So by default, I would have just gone there. I didn't have a ton of connections. I was from the area, but not really. I was like a Shazy homebody. I knew some people from other places, but like I didn't grow up in Plattsburgh. I didn't really grow up and know like a bunch of people. So, meaning I wouldn't have had a lot of connections to get into positions of places. If that makes sense. Like I wouldn't have known people to like tell me other jobs that existed. I was just more of like, I got a degree. I guess I'll go in for something in my degree because I was 21 years old. And I just didn't know there's other cool things. So I don't know what it would have been.
I feel like that's typical of someone coming out of college, though. Like, you have a degree, you think, like, that's the thing I have to do. I'm gonna do it. I have to do it. But the internship was nice. I mean, even though you didn't like it, right?
Correct.
I mean, that's just as important.
There's a few things...
If not more.
Oh, absolutely. There's a few things that kind of taught me what I wanted to do with my life and the avenue with what I wanted to do for work and what I wanted to avoid. Mm-hmm. And I got that from, honestly, lousy bosses or I say lousy, but people I just didn't, like, gel with very well, or an internship. And it kind of pointed me of like stuff I didn't want to do or how I didn't want to act, and that kind of positioned me as to where I'm now, which I don't know. I don't really have a good answer because I didn't have really anything. And I stumbled into real estate, but kind of not really getting into it for good reasons, I guess. Just like,
sure.
I just didn't want to work a 9-to-5 job. I was like, I mean, without going too deep into it, I basically just wanted to kind of set my own schedule.
Okay.
And then I kind of just was making enough in real estate, which I was making more than I worked before. So I was like, hey, it's kind of a win-win. And then I kind of grew up, and with growing up comes expenses. And then you realize like, oh, I actually have to like work hard. And then I got married and knew I was going to start having kids. And then I kind of kicked myself in my own ass and just kind of made myself work harder. And that's where I got to today.
Well, it was an internship that kind of pushed me out of my career field too. You know, our first internship with Bill Owens.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
So my first bachelor's degree is in political research.
Okay.
Well, Joel's would be political science, and Plattsburgh State. Potsdam calls it political research.
Yep.
But I did an internship with a congressional campaign and just wasn't my cup of tea. You know, I couldn't see myself.
It was on the campaign end of things. So
right.
It was
2008?
No.
12?
We were
12.
We were high school though, weren't we? Were we going into?
When was Bill?
It was a long time ago.
I did one in college. I think I did one in high school too.
Yeah.
But like for me, I just couldn't see myself struggling to be that kind of ground pounder to earn my place in a career.
A lot of door knocking, a lot of phone calls.
Right.
I mean, it was dirty campaign work.
Right.
Not dirty in the sense of illegal
like
or
boots
sketchy,
on the ground and like working.
Yeah, hard work.
And like, I didn't mind doing it, but I couldn't see myself doing it forever.
Yeah.
So I finished my degree, but then I went to EMT school at the same time, and then nursing school after that.
And that was and what was the switch for you on that?
So I think my switch was really just, so I think it was around that time. So I was at Plattsburgh State still when I decided that I would take my bachelor's degree and use it to get a master's level degree.
Yes.
In healthcare, either as a master's in public health or PA, NP. Medical school is always out of the question because I don't have the patience for it, I don't like school enough to be there forever. But when I went to Potsdam, that's when I got really active in the EMT world. And I kind of transitioned there from just finishing my bachelor's degree, just to get a bachelor's degree without having the grades or the classes needed to continue to a master's program. I just wanted to get done with a bachelor's degree as quick as possible and start working as quick as possible.
Wait, so what got you? So EMT got you into the healthcare field. So what got you into EMT?
So it's something I've been doing my whole life. I've got family in Connecticut that we used to go and visit in the summertime, and they were super big into EMS down there. Mm-hmm. So from a young age, I've always been interested in healthcare and wanted to do something in healthcare. I got my first EMT license the year we graduated high school, 2012. But I couldn't use it when I was in Plattsburgh because I lived in the city. And the city's the paid fire department. But out in Potsdam, everything's volunteer.
Yep.
So I was able to go out there and work, got a job, worked in the ER there.
He would never say it because he's modest, but he's very good at his job, and I've heard it from multiple people.
I'm sure he is. I was gonna say. I think anything Dan does is probably done at a fairly high level of.
Thanks, guys.
If anything you do in life is as good as like you with the coffee, then I think you're fine. Like I think you would excel at anything you do.
Yeah.
So
Katrina's delicious.
Katrina worked at the coffee shop in Potsdam called Jernabi, and we got really close with the owner who roasts his beans.
Was that the...
No, so it's the silver bag, the Ring of Fire.
Silver, okay, yes.
He haven't gotten there yet. But he bought his first roaster from... Oh, I forget his first name. Adirondack Coffee Roasters.
I don't know the owner, but I
so,
know his name, but you know the guy.
So I just learned this recently from talking to him that he actually has a side company that sells commercial roasting equipment.
Oh. Adirondack Coffee Roasters?
Yeah, and so fun fact for you, they're actually going to start this winter selling private and personal roasters. So you can get a roaster for your garage, and he'll sell you the beans. You can roast your own beans.
So I have a roaster at my house.
Okay.
I do, but I guarantee you it's not probably the grade that he has. So I'm interested in this.
Yes.
So when I was in college, I ended up going and I got some beans down in Albany. So you really couldn't find a lot of beans locally.
Is that a Monkey?
No, it was. It wasn't.
There's like Monkey House or something.
Nope, it was on Lark Street. And I'm trying to think the name of it. If you said it, I don't think it was Uncommon Grounds. I think it was something different.
Right, Uncommon Grounds was in Burlington, wasn't it?
But I think there's multiple Uncommon Grounds. Okay. So there is an Uncommon Grounds in Albany, but it wasn't there.
Gotcha.
I'm 99% sure it was on Lark Street, which is kind of like going kind of towards like downtown Albany, kind of like down towards the government center and Washington Park right there. So Lark Street, I believe I got it there. They're like peanuts.
Right.
They look like a bean. If you take down the bean that you might see on like the coffee commercial, being like, kind of looks like a bunch of like I said, brown beans. I don't know a better way.
They're very light in color. They start somewhere near this.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, like they're almost like a Manila look, and they look like peanuts.
Is this the pod of said bean?
No,
is this the pod?
No. This is purely the bean form. So we have the roasted beans that come out dark, and the degree of roasting is the light roast versus dark roast.
Gotcha.
But the beans themselves usually come out at a pretty bland, like skin tone-ish color.
Oh,
have you ever had natural coffee?
No.
Natural coffee.
I don't know what that is.
So it's very interesting. It's they roast the beans with the fruit still on it.
Okay.
So they don't take the fruit off the bean.
Now, fruit being the cocoa or whatever.
So it's like a cherry.
Okay. I don't think I knew this.
So it's natural, is what they call it. So you'll get this Papua New Guinea natural, right? Or Guatemalan Huehue Tenango natural. Huh. And they don't strip the fruit from around the bean. So when it roasts, it dries the fruit to the bean, and the bean kind of absorbs some of the fruit's acidity and flavors, and it comes out in coffee with a very fruit forward, almost like so sweet it's sour in my taste.
Wait, so a coffee bean comes off of a cherry plant?
No, so
my mind's spinning right now.
Right. So the bean that we see roasted here is the seed. Those seeds are encapsulated inside of a fruit that resembles a cherry. So if you imagine how a cherry has a pit in it,
yeah,
it's similar with certain breeds of coffee bean where there's a fruit around the actual bean.
So how many seeds come out of that?
I don't know.
Because imagine if 1-to-1, there's got to be millions or trillions of those things.
I mean, there's a lot. So when we went in nursing school, we took a mission trip to Honduras, and in the high mountains between Guatemala, Honduras, and Nicaragua, very well known for their coffee bean. The higher altitude causes different growing seasons and patterns, which causes different tastes. It acquires this prestige, right? And these families would have a coffee tree in their backyard, and they would just dry their beans out in the front yard, and you just see these tarps and blankets just covered in beans or fruit in some cases. So I don't know exactly what the ratio of meat, if you will, to seed or bean is, but it's a very interesting experience if you get the chance to try it.
The best part of waking up are coffee seeds in your cup. Bean juice. I see bean juice. See, now I know why they went the way they went.
When
anyway.
I get friends that don't, they just call it dirty bean water. And I'm like, well, yeah, but it's amazing.
But it's good bean water.
It's good bean water. Watch your mouth.
Someone called it soup the other day. They were like, it's soup. If you define it by what it is, it's soup. And I was like, wow.
It's a related question.
Yeah.
Define a sandwich.
It's anything that's enclosed with two pieces of bread.
Is a hot dog a sandwich?
Absolutely, it's a sandwich. 100%.
Do you think a hot dog's a sandwich?
It's a sandwich.
I mean,
is a hamburger a sandwich?
Yes.
I've actually used bread for a hot dog.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I don't have any rolls.
Yeah.
So a roll was essentially
is that what
just
a sandwich is? Because sand.
See, I don't even think you have to have 2 pieces of bread to make a sandwich.
No, I don't.
Because if you
There's
think
open face.
that, and if you think about like Subway or other submarine sandwiches where they just cut the bread part of the way through and open it up.
Yeah.
It's 1 piece of bread just cut in the middle.
It's basically a hot dog.
Essentially a hot dog. A Michigan's a sandwich.
Hot dog bun.
I'm
Change my mind.
I'm broad. No. I don't need to. We're on the same page here. I'm broad on my categories of sandwiches. Soups too. This is a soup. I'm drinking soup.
Like gazpacho.
It just doesn't have anything in it.
My mind just got blown when you just said it's a hamburger or a sandwich.
It's a sandwich.
Yeah, because it's beef. It's like you can have like a
Like
Philly
a roast
cheesesteak.
beef.
Philly cheesesteak would be a sandwich.
Yeah, absolutely. It
And
would.
It's a meat. And then, wow. Mine's blown. Now, is this the same thing as if we talk about a utensil, like a fork and a spoon, or all utensils?
Sure.
Because I've used that a lot with like analogies. I'm like, yes, but it's the same thing, but it's really all under one category.
Is a calzone a sandwich?
Calzone? Yeah, isn't calzone built around like a breading?
So there's breading. It's a pizza inside out.
But it's encapsulated. It's not like
Sure.
Yes.
I wouldn't consider
Yes.
that a sandwich.
No.
You had
I
me
would.
a hamburger.
What about
hamburger.
tacos?
100%.
You think that's
Tacos are a sandwich?
Yep, I'm taking this all the way down, man. I'm committed. You cannot change my mind.
Joel's dying on the sword right here.
I am.
So
I'm throwing myself on it.
we can even throw a wrench in this and like an ice cream sandwich. There's no bread.
Doesn't matter. Well, yeah, it's like a wheat product. That's why I backtracked and I said it doesn't have to be bread. It has to be
I
like
missed
some
that
sort
part.
of like wheat or
Some sort of dough.
What is the actual
Yeah.
definition of a sandwich? Is that
Is there sand in a sandwich?
like. Are we talking like Oxford
Now,
Dictionary?
Did sandwich come from England? Because there's a Sandwich England.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So maybe a sandwich was just named after the state or named after the town that they came
like
up.
like a local food kind of thing.
So
right here. Sandwich.
England.
Here's the definition. Merriam-Webster.
Oh, come on, that's subpar dictionary.
What? They're my boys, Merriam and Webster. They're the lesser-known
What up,
hobbits from Lord of the
homies?
Rings. Merriam and Webster. All right. 2 or more. Oh, hold on. Oh, I may be in trouble. There's 3 entries. 2 or more slices of bread or a split roll, which have a filling in between.
So I think that by that definition, a hot dog fits.
Yes.
Because it's a split roll with a filling.
But then there's also 1 slice of bread covered with a food, i.e. an open-faced sandwich, right? And then here's the third definition. You chew on this one for a second. Chew on this sandwich for a second. Something resembling a sandwich.
What?
Is the third definition of a sandwich.
How can you define something using the word you're trying to define?
They have defined something with the word that is something resembling a sandwich, especially a composite structural material consisting of layers often of high strengthening facing bonds to a low strength central core. I am reading from Merriam-Webster dictionary.
Okay, I think I know how you stand on this. Do you believe in string theory?
String theory?
String theory.
Can you define it?
So it's kind of the theory that in the universe there are strings that connect to other things and that a lot of things are naturally connected.
Like other verses.
So it's not necessarily a multiverse. So we can talk about what is it?
Yeah,
So-
I mean string theory. Yeah, it's like instead of like there being individual interactions, like I don't know, I'm not a physicist by any means, but it's like it's like a connection between all things, meaning like all things are tied even if you can't physically. They're not particles; they're strings, I guess.
So things are just connected. How would they be connected though?
That's just it. By
like a string.
ions that we don't see. It's like the idea that there are multiple timelines or chances for timelines to occur based on the string that we are participating in.
I'm going to take
Is
this.
there an example?
I have none for you.
Okay.
I have none. Dan, you have one?
I think it just is what it is.
Here's my
Just
little.
trust me.
Yeah. Just trust me. We're all connected with
Close
strings.
your eyes, drink the bean juice, and trust me. Okay, so I think an easier one to define would be simulation theory.
Okay.
So simulation theory is the idea that we are living in a simulation.
It's like Matrix.
But it's exactly. But we don't know who is running it. But you have these interactions of things.
We've been talking about the Mandela Effect.
Right.
Is that part of this?
Yes. So they say the Mandela Effect can actually be a way to identify the presence of simulation theory. A friend of yours, Elon Musk, believes strongly in the simulation
Friend of the
theory.
show.
Yes. Next guest.
Is he listening?
So
He's actually-
150.2. Let's be generous to us and make him 200.
That's fair.
Okay. So simulation theory,
He
the
deserves
idea
round
that we're living in a simulation. Mandela Effect is the idea that when you imagine.
It's like remembering something incorrectly, right?
Correct. So
Yeah.
it's like the Berenstein Bears versus the Bernstein Bears.
I'll die on all these swords.
When did
you look
Nelson
this up?
Mandela die?
What's that?
If you look this up,
It's
Yeah,
wild.
oh,
they have
yeah.
examples, and it's trippy.
Like
Yeah.
Nelson Mandela, did he die in prison?
No, but some people believe he did.
Right.
I wasn't old enough, really. I don't think.
Stouffer's stovetop stuffing. You ever had it?
Yeah, of course.
No, you haven't. Does exist.
What are you talking about?
Never existed.
Well, Stouffer, right?
Stouffer's stovetop stuffing never existed. Never was a product.
No, that's ridiculous.
Never happened.
So the
Ridiculous. What stuffing was I eating, Dan?
Not Stouffer's stovetop.
So the two ones that really screw me up is there was a movie back in the day called Kazam
with Sinbad.
with Sinbad,
Right.
and it was actually called Shazam.
Yep.
No, sorry, Shazam with Sinbad. It's actually called Kazam with Shaq.
Right.
And
So Sinbad was never in it.
and-
But we imagine the hammer pants and everything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I remember this a couple years ago. Sinbad was doing a comedy. He's a comedic. He's a comedian. He was doing a show in Florida where we were visiting, and I always check out this club. Is there anybody I know? And I'm like, oh, Sinbad's there. He'd be good to see. Yes, Sinbad. The only thing I remember that he was in this genie movie. And this was, we're talking less than a year ago.
Right.
And I was very adamant for all this time that he's always been in that movie. It's the only time I've ever known about Sinbad.
How has anyone moved on from the fact that there's no Stouffer stovetop stuffing? How have you moved
so
on?
the sun on the raisin packaging, does it have sunglasses or not?
Like what raisin packaging?
I don't know.
I'm trying to picture it.
Sunmade?
Yeah, something like that.
I don't know. I'd have to look at a picture.
Well, that's just it. Some people think it does. Some people think it doesn't. Some people think he
d-
always
does.
does.
Does the Monopoly man have a monocle or no?
Ooh, that's a good one.
I want him to have one, but I don't believe he does.
He does not.
Yeah, I want
We
him
both
to
just
have one.
looked. We just both looked up there.
I had to
to
look at
confirm
the
it.
board, yeah, because I actually didn't know the answer. I knew that
Right?
was one, but I didn't know the answer.
Yeah.
The other one that really trips me up is that at the end of We Are the Champions,
Okay.
Queen
Of the
song.
world. Of the world. It doesn't happen.
Does it or does it not?
It doesn't.
What's your thought?
I think it happens at some point in the song. I don't think it's the end.
You're both correct, yeah. But for me, I had to listen to the song.
Oh.
Like, absolutely. And then you're like, no, it just plays out. And then you hear the ending, like, here it comes. And it's like, no, it just plays out.
It's like leading to the bridge or something.
Yes, I think they only say it like once or twice in the song, but it's not at the end.
But in our mind, it's the perfect resolution
it's like the
to that
crescendo.
chord.
Like we just hit it, done, boom. But okay, so back to this, like living in a simulation.
Right.
Do you think that's true or not, or is that just us trying
So I don't believe in a lot of conspiracy theories, and I like to quiz Joel on these sometimes just to get him going. We go golfing or disc golfing, and I ask him some crazy question, and it lasts us a good 9 holes just arguing about it. Right? I like to think that I don't have any strong convictions that I can change my mind or someone can change my mind given the right evidence. So I think that there is a good possibility without probability that we are in a simulation. I think that it is not out of the realm of conceivable possibility with how infinite the universe appears to us, that would be the best way to stop us looking for it, would be to tell us you can go forever that way.
Do you think that someone's controlling? It's almost like a Truman Show. Like
I don't know
everything's
who,
just being
I don't
like-
know what, I don't know where, I don't know why. But I think it's possible. I don't think it's probable, but I think it's possible.
What would happen if all of a sudden we just found out? You know, like those remember the Hunger Games?
Am I a simulation to you, Dan?
I tell you what,
Am I a simulation to you?
You're
Have
a
all of
you're a
our
glitch in our
shared
lives.
experiences meant nothing?
if I die in the next 48 hours, let that be definite proof that we are in a simulation theory.
I'll write that on your headstone.
Okay.
I'll write
If I
that on
don't
your
die
headstone.
in 48 hours, that does not disprove simulation theory, but it does not prove it.
All right.
Okay?
All right.
Deal.
Sure. Why? Because you called it out? Because you
Are you not nervous
recognized
for the
it?
next 48 hours?
No.
Oh. It's like
It just
clock
it might
started off.
it'd be so cool if it happened though. It'd be so cool if I died and you guys like motherfucker, it's real.
I mean, it'd be sad, but it would be
Sure,
like
thanks,
he
man.
knew
Yeah.
knew something we didn't know.
I caught on to them. You know, I'm acknowledging the presence of something else.
Where was I going for dinner tonight?
It's Thai food.
I'm still going to Thai food, whether you kick it or not.
I've thought about
Have some for me, buddy.
So I've always thought of like stuff that happens for a reason.
Yep.
And I'm a big believer that everything happens for a reason. So if you say, the idea of like, and I overthink it sometimes where I'm like, well, I'm going to go to Thai, and I'm like, well, I'm going to Thai. And I'm like, you know what? Just to screw that thesis up, I'm going to take a left and go to Chipotle.
It was already predetermined.
But then in my head, I'm like, something made me ultimately decide that. Because I've had times where I'm dead.
Why did that thought pop up into your head?
Which one? The one I just thought?
Both.
But
Who made you think them?
But I've thought about that before when I'm like in the mood. I'm like, everything's like, everything happens for a reason. But like, does it? Or am I decide as simple as going to where I'm going to eat tonight? I'm just going to go there instead of there.
Can I throw you a real curveball?
Yeah.
All right. Get ready for this. Buckle up. You ready?
I'm holding my pencil with...
The brain is the most important organ in the body, says the brain. You chew on that. You let me know what you think. How could...
It blows my mind sometimes just thinking about the brain studying itself. Like, how do we not know everything there is about the brain? Like, it's my brain. I've had it for 27 years now. How do I not know everything about my brain?
You're telling me ancient Egyptians could build modern feats of mechanical prowess. No, not even going down the alien path. Not even going there, Dan. But like math and science and astrology.
Okay, I don't understand math at all. Don't worry about that.
No, but they build these feats. They build these huge feats and things that we couldn't even do today with like machines and equipment, at least not easily. And you're telling me that they thought the heart was the most important organ in the body. They destroyed the brain. They ripped it out. They didn't want it.
The Egyptians.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would still say...
They also thought cats were really important, too.
Yeah, well...
And I hate cats.
My wife would agree with them on that point.
Would she also agree with their impression of the brain and heart? At least in your case?
Yeah, maybe in my case, yeah. Can I take this down one more path while Dan gets the next cup of coffee?
I'm still chewing on the brain, thinking the brain's like the shit. Like,
yeah.
Okay.
And it's all of our collective brains. Like brains have told other brains that they are the most
high
important.
five and being like, we're the best.
Yeah, and then what other organ's going to speak up? Your spleen?
What if the brain is the one running the simulation?
Yeah, that's a good question. So
damn it, Dan.
There is a if the listeners out there haven't heard of this is I'm not going to explain it perfectly to a T. I'm not a physicist. I don't know how these things work, but I've heard of this, and it's a really fun thing to go look up on YouTube. So there's a theory, and Galen, chime in if you heard of this, where particles like electrons and protons and neutrons, they act differently when they're being observed by human eyes. They act differently based on whether they're being watched or not. So you can look this up, watch it on YouTube later.
Okay.
They had this. It was like a gun. It's not a real gun. It shoots like protons or neutrons or electrons. I forget which atom or particle, and it shoots them really fast. And they have a camera that can view where they're going, right? And then when it hits whatever spot it's supposed to be shot at, there's a something that records that it hit that location. So the scientist knows. So they're watching it, but there's also...
But isn't that a form of observation?
It is, just not watching. It's tracking in a data-driven sense, but it's not. So anyway, so they're shooting these things at a wall, and they're watching them. And every single time it gets shot, it goes in the same spot. Like where they're aiming this gun, it goes. And they're watching it, and it's getting measured on the wall where it's hitting, and they're like, okay, exactly. They turn the camera off. So the only thing, no one's watching this anymore. No one's got their eyes on it. It's just the wall that can measure where the protons or neutrons or electrons or whatever are hitting. All of a sudden, they're shooting the gun from the same spot. They're going all over, baby. Why? Why are they acting differently when we're not watching? Are they self-aware? Do they know that we're there?
Was there another variable, like you talked about, like the camera or something going off that might have been drawing them a certain direction?
That's a great point.
Like, is there something? Like, my thought would be, is there something manipulating the pathway based on not watching? Because if it's not like, it'd be like you physically watching with your eyes.
Yeah.
And then again, these are small, right? So I don't think you would.
I don't think you could physically
see them with your naked eye, but
they're what make up everything.
It's probably like a microscope or something.
So I think that they are living their own simulation. I think this is a form of Schrodinger's theory.
Yeah, like is the cat alive or dead?
Correct.
Yeah.
I have a saying in EMS as well. It's Schrodinger's leg. right? If somebody calls 911 and says my leg is broken, until you show up on their scene, their leg is either totally fine and just a little sore, or very super obviously broken. Schrodinger's leg.
What if it's not there?
Wait, shortening?
Schrodinger, Schrodinger, the psychiatrist who decided that until you open the box to look at the cat, you don't know if it's dead or alive, so it could be both or neither.
I feel like we need to pull out the DSM-5 and like just go through all the psychological stuff with Galen.
Yeah, I didn't take a lot of psych stuff.
Okay.
So my favorite psychologist is actually won the Nobel Prize for economics. You should know. You should know who this is.
Okay, who?
So if I say System 1 and System 2 thinking,
And no, it's not ringing any bells yet.
Daniel Kahneman.
No, I don't know.
So he wrote a couple books, and he was known as like Kahneman and something or other. But he won the Nobel Prize in economics as a psychiatrist or psychologist. I get confused, but because his theory of System 1 and System 2 thinking relates directly to productivity and the workforce. So the idea is System 1 is the snap judgment, it's the snap reaction, it's the thing you can do without having to think about it, right? Like if I told you
Like
to pick
unconscious,
up, it's not. So it required some conscious learning, but not conscious effort. If I give you both a pen and say, pick this up off the table, you both pick it up the same way without thinking about it. If I say, hold the pen, you know exactly how to hold it without thinking about what position your hands go in.
It's like breathing.
But if I were to hand you this grinder and say, grind the coffee, you'd be like, I know how it works, but where do I put my hands? It takes an extra thought to think about how do I do the action.
It's just because we haven't trained our mind to it yet.
Right, so it's System 1 and System 2. It's the snap judgment versus the one that takes conscious effort to think about.
If you do something in System 2 long enough, does it become System 1?
Probably.
Like a muscle memory kind of thing.
Well, I'm thinking like if I gave a professional guitar player a guitar,
Right.
they just grab it and go. Where I
Right.
might grab it first time, be like, wait, okay, put my hands here. Does it go on my lap? Does it
Right.
like
Professional sports, right?
Yeah.
They take something from System 2 and make it into System 1. Your
Correct.
golf game. As it gets better, it takes less effort to think about the position of your hands, the position of your feet.
Well, I've done it like before, like even like athletics. Like if you're trying to do a specific or kick a soccer ball or like squat under a barbell, like the first few times, like this is weird, and eventually just like everything just clicks. Like I know how to step and then kick. I know like day one, you're like, okay, step here and I kick the ball, and then all of a sudden now you're shooting. Now you're trying to curve the ball. Now you're doing. And it becomes like self-conscious. Like it just happens. Like I know if I want to go kick it right to left, I just know the angle I have to kick it at to make it curve.
Without thinking about the angle in your head.
Without thinking, it's just reaction. Just like, all right, I just got to push my foot a little bit this way, and I know it's going to have more of a... But I think so that is a... What was he applying it to?
Yeah, that was an economist?
He was a psychologist who won the Nobel Prize for economics.
Oh, so what were the systems relating to in economics?
Productivity. Just talking about how productivity can be increased by using System 1 versus System 2 and how to train System 2 to be System 1.
Oh, interesting.
But just interesting to hear this guy now be lauded as an economist, but that's not his background. He has no training in it. He has no classes in economics.
Yeah, I feel like economics is a made-up science.
Aren't they all made
like
up?
political science. I'm a political science major, man. I love politics like the next guy, but it ain't no science.
That's one of the cool things
It's more
about
psychology, right?
Yeah, it's like sociology. It's like how
It's purely a social science.
Yeah.
So like when we went to
but social.
So it's only social science, Joel, in the way that you can apply methods to it, right? That's why I liked Potsdam's teaching behind political science, because it wasn't political science; it was political research.
Right.
So we took classes like research methods. We took classes like methods and motives, where it's learning about what makes people think, what makes people react to surveys. How do you get bigger involvement in things? And versus, political science at Plattsburgh State was great and it was very interesting, but it was more hypothetical. It was more idealistic. It was a lot of the classics. It was a lot of political structures that aren't realistic.
Took a class at Plattsburgh State in political science, right? And it was business stats, or not business stats, statistical analysis for political science majors.
Can I make a suggestion for a guest real quick?
Yeah.
Harvey Shantz.
Yeah.
Local person?
Yeah, he was the chair of Plattsburgh State's political science department, but he's a fascinating guy.
What's his last name?
Shantz, Schantz.
Or Tom Konda. Tom Konda. He was a professor there. So this class was with Dr. Konda. he had us do this thing where we had to look up a conspiracy theory, right? Any conspiracy theory we wanted. And then we had to do some statistical analysis around said conspiracy theory. So I was like, go big or go home. That was my motto in college. Like, try to knock their socks off. If not, you're boring. So people are doing things like, I don't know.
Like 9/11 or things like
that. Yeah, or voter fraud or I'm not saying that's a conspiracy theory, but you know what I mean. Mm-hmm. So anyway, so they're doing all things like that are realistic, and I walk in, he's like, all right, go around the room, and I'm like one of the last ones, and he gets to me, and I was like, I got one for you, kinda. Don't you worry. I was like, okay, 3% of the U.S. population believes, and before I can even get it out of my mouth, he's like, that reptilians rule the government. Yes. Yeah? Oh, yeah.
That was what it was.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And there's a statistical analysis. There's a margin of error of 1.5 there, but that means at worst case scenario, 1.5% of the U.S. population believes to some degree or another that there may be a shred of truth that reptilians have invaded and infiltrated and are in the ruling class of U.S. government.
So it's ruling class everywhere, too. It's not just...
Oh, it's ruling the world.
So they reptilian.
Yes, so the reptilian overlord. Correct.
Yeah,
so the
intelligent...
Is,
this is real. If you ever want to lose faith in humanity very quickly...
There's an Australian guy who's written hundreds of books about it and has actually studied it and has some shred of science towards it, but the idea is that...
See, that's why I don't believe we can use the word science in these things. Political science, social science, that's not science.
It goes all the way back to the Egyptians, though. This links to your earlier topic. So the Egyptians and their monoglyphs have these reptilian features that no one can explain. And the theory is that we have evolved interdependently with these reptilian overlords who came down from outer space and have become a part of... over generations become part of our psyche. So we may not even know we have reptilian blood or we have reptilian brain. But it's the reptile brain. You've heard that before.
Yeah.
And we will never see one because our reptile brain hides the other reptiles.
There are 3 things I want to say here really quickly, just firing them off right at the hip. Number 1, I feel terrible that I said before that we need to believe ancient Egyptians in relation to their importance on the brain and the heart, because now I'm trapped, and I have to believe that they also had something going on with reptilian overlords, so shouldn't have used that as an example. 2, Galen, you have a lot of YouTubing to do later today, my friend.
My mind is actually
you're gonna have some issues.
I cleared your schedule, don't worry.
And
then number 3,
jet fuel does melt steel beams.
Jet fuel melts what, steel beams?
Don't ask. And then number 3. Did you imagine it going this way today?
Actually, out of all of them, number 3 was actually yes. I kind of
okay.
You guys kind of set the bar, but the number 3 and number 2 correct. Number 1, I can cut that out if you want to give Joel some redemption. In that way, it never actually happened. People don't know. There's your cat in the box thing. Did Joel actually say it or not?
Oh, ooh.
Well, we don't know.
I like that.
We don't know.
I like that.
Okay, so actually, I was going to ask you about this. So you flipped it.
So it's called the inversion method, right?
Okay.
So if you were to do your air
I always do it the opposite way.
Normally, you start getting coffee coming right out.
And I push it down. Yes.
Right? So you do it like this.
Correct.
Right? But as soon as you put water through here, you start getting coffee dripping through your filter, right?
Yes.
Technically, that decreases your brew time, and that coffee that comes through first will be under extracted. So if you do it this way, I've got the plunger stuck in the top.
Yep.
I'll add my water to it, I'll put this on, and then I'll flip it and press it.
Okay, so I always got confused. So if you are to do this, you put the water in now.
Yep.
Okay. So for anybody that doesn't know, an AeroPress is like this cylinder, 2-piece cylinder. One has a plunger end on it, which basically it's AeroPress. It basically presses air. It's a very there's a lot of basically it's almost like a vacuum seal feel to it. And you put a top on top or bottom. I guess this is the inversion method, so it's on top now. But then you would flip it over, and then almost like a French press, you would then press the bean, or you press the water through the beans into the mug through basically force of lack of air or pressure.
Right. So you're basically combining a French press with a pour over, because you get the first bit of immersion brew, and then you get the secondary pressurized brew.
So if this
And don't forget, this is the pressure valve too, so this will come out.
So what's the difference between
similar
that
to espresso?
and then also with the paper?
Here.
But I'm saying like when it does like the taste. I know the paper does.
So there you can get a metal filter for your AeroPress as well, and what that will do is that will allow more oil to stay in the coffee because the paper will absorb a lot of the oil as it goes through. So some people will actually do multiple layers of paper.
Okay.
Depending on what they want.
Two.
Right.
Yep.
So they do multiple layers of paper. They do different kinds of paper, or they do metal filters, or these pressurized valves. And with the pressurized valve, you'll feel it and hear it pop. Sorry for the mess.
It's all right.
We really got to get a camera in here.
Actually, Dan, right up here. We got paper towels up there too if you want to use them.
I brought this for a reason.
Okay. Here,
I was prepared for a mess.
Get the mic too while you're at it.
Oh, for sure. Sorry for the noise. Hi, guys.
That's actually why we got the
Welcome to the
scratch card. The scratch card.
I'm usually the sound effects guy, but I'll let Dan take it today.
Dan, this is an authentic sound right here. Dan is actually
that's true.
Not for the show.
That's not. Remember the
gently stroking the microphone.
Yeah. That was good product placement. They never actually.
Did they never reach out?
No, Chipotle. They said they wanted some bigger hits. But wait, while you're cleaning up, I'm gonna go back to our original. Remember we talked about countries because I had this up. I just wanted to read through it. Is U.S., Canada, France, Mexico, Russia, followed by Indonesia.
Indonesia.
This is basically in the last 2 years has been my biggest ones. Now, granted, these downloads are only like 10, 20, something like that. But I have gotten like Italy, had gotten Ireland, have gotten like just random like things that you wouldn't think. So it's all good. Okay, so what happens when you shook it up just because they had that cap?
Just because of the pressure in it. So the pressure just popped the top early.
Now, would you normally shake it or no? Or is that just for
so I put a little bit too much coffee in it, trying to make enough for all three of us.
Gotcha.
So I think I just didn't leave it enough space when I was swirling it
Gotcha.
to mix the beans.
How long do you keep water in there, and do you always just like swirl it?
Yeah, so
I usually mix it with a spoon.
Yep, that works too. So the longer you leave the water, the longer the brew time, the more expression you get from the beans.
So you will leave it in there for a while.
It depends. It depends how strong a cup of coffee I want.
Okay. So obviously longer water, stronger cup. Yep. So I love this method. One, because it's quick. It's a very quick process. Once it brews, you don't have to let it sit much. You just kind of like, or you can. I mean, French press I usually let steep for about 4 minutes. This is a really cool method. Like you travel a lot with this, right? Like this is kind of a good throw it in your suitcase, throw it in your backpack, bring it with some beans. I got to get a hand grinder. That's one thing I don't have, which would be next level. I mean, Dan's got a pretty heavy duty one. I've seen little smaller ones too that are more like travel, kind of like use pop. That's actually pretty small though. You can put that in a backpack.
I have one of those electric ones. Are they like frowned upon?
No.
Oh, okay.
I use at home.
Okay.
So how long does this take to just grind this down?
Not too bad.
I'm using that 1-2 learning lesson right now.
Yes. You're
Trying to
on
make
system 2.
I'm on system 2 right now. Definitely
Yes.
a system 2 guy.
Yep.
Dan is by far a system 1.
With this process, yeah, he's system 1.
He knows how many turns, how many looks it takes to get the center of the Tootsie Pop, right? So
Yes.
I put it in a grinder. I have this, what the heck's the grinder called? It's a good grinder. I forgot the name of the grinder. It's a good grinder. And it has like the certain type of, basically it spins and it has it go through the bottom, so it doesn't have a blade.
Same thing like
Was
this.
it burr?
Burr, B-U-R-R.
That's
is
it.
Basically what this is. So you get metal burr grinders or ceramic burr grinders.
I forgot the name of it, but I did a lot of research on it. It was by far like the most, like that middle ground, like affordable but very good.
Okay.
Not like I don't need a really super high end grinder because it's just me, but I mean you gotta work it here.
Yeah,
I mean I'm probably on like a couple hundred turns right now on this thing. We're getting there.
There's a workout option on Apple Watches for
I
that.
feel like it's like the shake weight version, but
Yeah.
I'm getting a lot of like tricep work in this and a lot of forearm.
What coffee are you preparing for us?
Same one, just a different way.
Okay, all right.
So we have which one we have right now?
This is still the Papua New Guinea.
So go into like what's your favorite regions of coffee?
It's probably the Ring of Fire, like the Central Pacific around.
Is that Costa Rica, Guatemala?
Yep.
Not
So
Guatemala.
maybe not Guatemala.
That's an island, right?
I think Costa Rica. I really like Costa Rican La Amistad. There's a coffee from Costa Rica I really like. Not a huge fan of the Guatemalan Hueve Tenango. Not a huge fan of
This is Honduras, right?
No, Guatemalan Hueve Tenango.
No, you went to Honduras.
I went to Honduras.
Okay,
sorry. So Honduras coffee, when I had it there, was very good. I've not been able to find beans that were shipped that are equal quality.
Okay.
I'm not a huge fan of Kenyan or a lot of
Sumatras and stuff.
the African roasts. Like, they're a little bit too light for me. And the lighter the coffee, the more acidic it gets, but also the more fruity it gets. So it's kind of double-edged sword.
Is Sumatra's African coffee, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
Yeah. African or maybe like Middle Eastern.
Tim Hortons is my
Timmy
jam.
Ho-Ho's?
Oh, yeah, Timmy Ho-Ho as well.
When will they open back up Alaska State? Do you know?
So I think I'm
I don't
good
know.
there.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I mean, we're just spinning now.
Yeah.
You like Tim Hortons coffee?
I love Tim Hortons coffee.
Like for a mass produced, like, so this is my thing. I'm not a big Dunkin' Donuts guy. I drink it out of convenience because there's a drive-through on every corner. I like Starbucks purely because I think the roasts are better and it's a stronger coffee.
Yep.
I do like Tim Hortons. I only get it. I don't go to the one at Plaster State. I don't know why. I just never think to go there.
It is a little odd walking back on campus.
Like, for
It's
me,
a
to
little
go
odd.
get coffee, it takes, like, you know what I really like is, well, you were there, was Becky's place, the High Peaks Brew. She does a great job. My thing is just sometimes I can't stop and, like, wait in line and get coffee. And like, the other day I went to Chapter 1. I was meeting someone there, and I waited in line probably for about 10 minutes because, I mean, there was one person working. There was like 6 people. So it was like, you know, sometimes I'm like, crap, I got to do a quick drive-through more for convenience than... But if I can go to a coffee shop and like sit there and order a coffee and enjoy myself, that's the best by far.
All of our local coffee roasters here, I mean, Chapter 1, Coffee Cat,
Adirondack Coffee Roasters
Adirondack,
too.
yeah, Adirondack Coffee Roasters, like they're all excellent, phenomenal. But like if I'm gonna go buy a bag of coffee, like from somewhere, I go to Sam's Club and I buy like a bag of Timmy Ho's, and it's like affordability only. Like the price is just right for me. If I could like go and buy it locally all the time, I would, and I try to. But yeah, Tim Hortons is like the cheap option.
I Adirondack Coffee Roasters, I'll get beans from there.
Yes, so
like
good.
Whole beans, and I'll go home and grind them. I know Lakeside Coffee in Rouse's Point has a bunch too. I just never end up going. Like, if I go there, I get coffee. I usually don't grab a bag.
Delicious breakfast. Have you ever had breakfast there?
Oh yeah.
Oh, so
like
good.
the breakfast burritos and stuff.
Yeah, so good.
Yeah. So if I'm traveling up there and I'm kind of just passing through, I'll stop and get some stuff there, and it's really good.
It's already going.
Oh wow. Okay.
But go ahead and push down on it.
So every time I do this on, this is a little different though. Like
You felt it pop and go.
well pop, and then I feel like more.
Okay, good.
Oh yeah, that's probably too high. Okay.
Oh.
I feel like it's almost like too much pressure at times because of. Is that just because it's sat? Maybe the pressure, or because of the metal?
Yeah.
Snag that.
I think it just might have been the pressure and the heat.
This is.
We're not measuring water, so who knows what the actual temperature of it is.
We're definitely going. There's a lot of nuance to this coffee. We're just kind of like rolling. So we had the V60, we had this, and the next one would be the French press.
Right. But if you notice on the rim of your glass, you've got a little bit of...
A little foamy?
A little foam. That's mostly because the pressure that the valve releases. Different... So if you had gone like 15 grams of coffee to 50 grams of water, make it super concentrated with this pop top, you'll actually get pretty close to that espresso oil mix.
You can keep going, just so
yeah.
I don't screw it up for later.
Yeah, you get the espresso oil mix, and that will give you that espresso texture. If you do the milk foam at home, you can build yourself like a cortado or a latte out of it. Just remembering that it's super strong.
So they're good. You
so now we're gonna have to explain these.
No, mine's out of it.
No, he is out of it. Yeah. You'll look like the weird one, but that's all right. So, what's your favorite method out of everything? Like your favorite kind of way to make coffee? I guess one taste and then one kind of like, what's your go-to?
It's probably the V60.
That's your favorite taste?
I think in terms of taste to effort, it's probably my go-to. I like the versatility of the AeroPress, and I like the experience, and I like experimenting, but it's not... I have a hard time reproducing it. Because I think I get bored, for one, and for two, there's a lot of variety in it.
You find that the AeroPress is hard to reproduce?
In the way I do it, yeah.
Okay.
Just because I like to try new things all the time.
So, like the one you gave me, and I haven't looked at it too much. The one you gave me, I'm like, I just stay with it because I'm like, if Dan says it's good, it's probably good and it tastes good. But I find that the AeroPress is a much stronger coffee.
Very much so.
So if I do like even a French press, AeroPress blows out of the water when you start actually sipping on it.
Yep.
Like this is just like a heavy packed coffee. So
You can feel that one there too.
Absolutely. So a lot of times my AeroPress will be like the mid-afternoon.
Okay, yeah.
Like I don't do it a lot in the morning because I can only make like one at a time.
Sure.
So I'll make like a French press and kind of just keep pouring it throughout the morning. But this is one where if I'm like, man, I really need a coffee, and it's like 2:00 in the afternoon, I will make just this, and it's the concentration is enough where it's like I just need one.
It's just a good experience. Yeah. I don't know if you want a full cup or not, but you'll.
Yeah, I'll take a sip.
It's a sharper taste than that. Like
it's gonna be like a big body, big oil. You're gonna feel it in your mouth more.
Oh yeah,
it's much stronger. It's great.
So it's like strong,
like
but it's a mouthfeel thing.
Yeah, you take like a sip, and it almost feels like it fills like your entire mouth.
The oaky afterbirth is great.
Afterbirth.
Remember that from The Office?
Yes.
The dinner party. It's a good oaky afterbirth. But no, that aftertaste though, it's just very. It's like you can feel it when you sip it, and then it kind of has it lingers a little bit more.
It's really good.
Yeah, I like the AeroPress. The V60, the Chemex is the one I want to get just because I know it's like bougie. You can say on your way out. We don't really.
Oh, okay.
You're good.
There's no pause.
There's no rules.
No, you said pause. I don't pause. I just acknowledged that you were leaving in 15 minutes.
Oh, fair enough.
You're good. That's why I got a photo before you left. I mean, you can get a formal one. But I thought like that was like people could kind of see the background. They could kind of see the. I mean, do you want a formal picture?
No, I
thought that was good.
Did you get the stuff in the background?
Well, it was in the frame.
Let's do a proper one.
You want to do a proper one? I'll do both. We'll do both.
All right.
But I was trying to be smooth while you did it on the way out, and I was just like, we'll just kind of get it because I want to get through this. I'll talk to Dan a little bit more.
Yeah. Okay, sweet.
But
are you wiping yours off?
That's why you brought these.
See, I don't trust him. And this is why.
All right. To be fair to Joel, I'm not going to say what we need, but
he was storyboarding this last night. He was coming up with a plan.
So should we tell him like 2 more college stories before we go?
Sure. What are the college stories?
So there was the one where the time you broke your tooth. I broke your tooth.
Yeah, we were playing Frisbee just in front of our dorm, like throwing it back and forth. It was the
end of the day. I think we just got a free Frisbee at like one of the tables or something.
Yep.
And like we were just out in the yard after a long day throwing it around.
Yep.
And someone was walking by and they yelled Joel's name because he was the popular guy. So he turns around. He turns around to look, and I'm like, Joel, and he turns back to look at me, and the disc is right here.
Oh yeah,
right just in front of his hand. Yeah, so he reaches out to get it, and he catches it.
This is in the air.
Yeah. He catches it.
It's like close.
But he pulls it in, and he pulls it into his mouth, and he
knocked part of the front right is fake. Yeah.
Luckily, nothing important because doesn't need to smile for anything.
Yeah. So I gathered the tooth. I see this thing fall out of my mouth, and it hits the grass.
It's pretty impressive. You found it.
Yeah, I grabbed it quick. Dan already. It was like, getting stuff. He's like, here's some ice. Like, let's get blah, 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 blah. So it's like 4:30 on a Friday. You try finding a dentist anywhere at 4:30 on a Friday. So I call mine, and wonderful dentist, great dentist. I don't even think she's practicing anymore. But anyway, she was like, she's like, yeah, listen, if you can get here in the next 10 minutes, it's like a 15-minute drive. But she's like, if you can get here in the next 10 minutes, I have to be on the road by 5:10. Because, like, my daughter's doing this thing. Mm-hmm. I was like, okay. Is that going to be enough time for you to fix my tooth? She's like, we'll try our best. So I'm driving.
So you have about less than an hour.
Oh, my God. Way less than that.
Half an hour. Would you say 4:30 to 5:10?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 40 minutes.
Yeah.
Not including drive time.
Correct. Yeah. So I'm like booking it over there. I get there. She she fixed it. It hurt. It was painful.
How do you fix it?
I recently
the tooth
learned.
was out? Or it got chipped?
It was like out, so it broke it split. Not vertically.
It was half the tooth.
Half the tooth horizontally, and it was
cracked and fell off.
It was not a clean break either. Like it broke more on the back than on the front. So she tried putting it back on to see if
the whole tooth did fall out. We should have the root was still in.
Like half of my tooth was still there.
The root was still in place. It was the bottom half. The bottom half
of my front tooth. So what they ended up doing is doing this molding. So they got this God, I don't even know what it is, a polymer, right? I mean, it's a bonding polymer, I guess. And they form the shape of a tooth. and they stick it on there, and then they use like UV lights. It looks like a little UV light, and they like and they do that a couple times. It doesn't like it's not hot, it's nothing. It's just a blue light, and it like hardens. And I've had that done now 3 times since that time. Oh
Really?
yeah, oh yeah. My second day working at the Chamber Galen. At the Chamber Galen. I thought it was a good idea on my break to go get a Airhead. I hadn't had an Airhead since I was 6 years
The
old.
hard candy.
Yeah, like an Airhead.
Oh, the gummy. I'm thinking of Warhead.
Yeah, no,
okay.
like the thing,
Airhead.
like you bite it and you
it's
pull
like
it.
toffee or
Yeah. And I was like, oh, like great idea. Got done on this second day at work. Want a blue Airhead? I don't know. It sounded good, so I went and got one from the gas station. And I'm sitting in the car, and I bite into said Airhead, and I pull. And along with the Airhead comes my tooth. So it's happened quite a few times since then. And
so when you've gone to replace it, it's just because it's physically come out.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Both times.
Oh wow.
Oh yeah.
So Joel will never be able to bite anything without thinking about.
So
in our
corn
college days.
steak, like
I have, like I'm always like a little afraid. I feel it a lot. Like if I hit my face somehow, like I feel.
He's got to check it.
Yeah, I check it. I check it all the time.
just play with it with your tongue all the time, like.
Yeah, I do that all the
Yeah.
time. I also have
That's
a lot
probably
of.
why it wears out.
Yeah, probably.
Enough taps on the door is gonna crack.
Right.
It's like,
Some people talk about dreams, right? And they talk about the fact like if you have dreams, your dreams have meaning.
Simulation.
Right.
Reptiles.
So, yeah, conspiracy theory. But people believe there's like meanings behind your dreams, and some people believe that
Wait,
if
you sleep?
I sleep.
okay,
yeah,
all
yeah.
right. That's
If you dream of having your teeth fall out, it means you're hiding something, or like you're lying about something. I guess that's the thing they believe. So I went to my doctor once, and he's like, "How are you sleeping?" I was like, "Oh, I'm sleeping fine, but I'm having like I keep having these dreams about my teeth falling out." And he's like, "Really?" He's like, "You know what that means, right?" And I was like, "Yeah." And they say it means you're hiding something. He's like, "No, maybe it means that your tooth has fallen out of your head 3 times, and you're nervous about your tooth falling out of your head 3 times."
That would be
and I
more
was like,
logical.
I was like, "Yeah, that sounds right."
Now, what was the other story? Broken tooth.
The food fight in the cafeteria. You filled your mouth with whipped cream. And you went, "I'm a pimple." You had that college shirt on.
I don't remember that.
Oh,
You were heavy. You had darker hair.
In college?
Yeah, we had a food fight in the cafeteria. You wore that shirt that said college on it, and you went, "I'm a pimple."
In a food fight ensued?
Yeah,
I must have knocked my head. I don't remember.
it was at
this.
that. It was at that house.
At the house.
The one they called Animal.
Yeah, no, he's made up story.
okay.
Yeah,
I was like,
yeah.
I'm like, I don't know if I can believe Dan right now or not.
No.
Animal House?
Yes. For a second, I was like thinking if I was recreating Animal House. I was
Yes.
like, did I? Yeah, but I was wondering if I actually did it.
You probably did.
I don't know. It's a possibility.
You can't comment on that.
All right.
Galen, it's been a pleasure. I do have to get going.
That's fine. Joel,
Thank you for having me back on the show.
Say hi to everybody. Do you want your formal picture? Well, or are you okay with rolling
We
with
probably should do something.
the action shot? Because the other one's got Dan talking, so like there's probably some good, some bad.
Well, yeah,
like,
you,
eyes
you
closed.
tell
mouth
us
moving.
which one works best.
All right, we got the mugs.
As
and
long as
everything.
Joel looks towards me instead of towards you. Well, saving your eye, yeah.
I mean, wait. The problem is if I go portrait mode. Nah, we can't. We're good. We got
good?
We got enough.
Perfect.
We'll edit. We'll airbrush. We'll make it happen.
Awesome. Thank
If
you.
I put my hand out, will you put a bird in it in the picture?
A baby bird. Yes. Sure.
Cool. Let's do it again.
We could. We'll put the Yoda. Put the
there you
Yoda
go.
hat on.
Oh man.
Make sure you grab your Yoda hat.
Yes.
Grab your kettle, whatever you got.
No, you got
I'll take this back for you.
Oh yeah, because we need more. Hey, thank you. This is great.
Thanks, Joel.
Hey, enjoy that tie tonight.
I will.
Okay.
Pongari.
All right. So, coffee talk. So,
Yeah, Kat actually made those mugs.
these ceramic.
Mm-hmm.
What can Kat do and not do? Because I find that she's a very creative individual and can do a lot of like random like
Yeah.
cool trinket things. Like,
So
this
is in her college days. She had a.
So she glazed half of it, so the bottom is just the clay.
Yeah, so that what you have on the bottom of your cup is called a foot.
Okay.
I don't know much more than that. I know the clay
Oh.
was applied with a dip.
There it is, KR.
Yep. So I think she dipped this on, or maybe she painted it. I'm not super sure. I don't know how it happened. It's kind of magic to me. I just enjoy watching it, and I enjoy the finished product.
Do you have a kiln at was this in college?
This is in college.
Okay. I took pottery.
Yep.
So this is funny. So I took pottery as senior year. And as every kid knows, second semester, senior year, you're just kind of, you're there. You're just kind of like
doing the thing.
You're showing up. You're not really doing much. So I wasn't working very hard. So, and again, I was kind of like you. I'm like, I'm going to Frederick State, applied to one college, got in. That was
It's so expensive to apply to colleges.
You know what? If someone asked me how do you apply to colleges, I would not know. I went to my guidance counselor. I said, I don't know, just put one into Plattsburgh. I'll go there.
It was like $50 to apply to Plattsburgh State.
Was it?
Like I'm thinking about all the other colleges I thought about applying to, and like if you do the usual like scatter approach and apply to 12 colleges, if each one's $50,
you get $500, $600 in.
That high school kids, putting out that kind of money. A friend of mine is about to go to medical school, and he's like, the usual system for medical school is you apply to 20 schools, you wait a full year to hear back from them, and then maybe you get in. And to apply to 20 medical schools is like $8,000.
Oh my God! Wow. Then I definitely took the cheap route, but that's insane. Yeah, that's insane. But so pottery,
but is it so much anxiety, like
to apply for schools?
Just school in general. I have
to get into school, or you think?
I think school. Period.
Like the waiting part.
School, and like I would even extrapolate to high school. I think it's a difficult environment to learn in. I have
just to learn in general, not to go from college to high school into college.
Both. I have a theory, untested, not scientific, totally theoretical, right? That early education up to probably the point of entry to college, so not including standardized tests like SATs, ACTs, the other one, the AP test, I don't know what it was, but like those standardized college entry tests. Mm-hmm. Everything up to that point should be pass-fail. Because I don't think it breeds anything but negative energy for a student who always gets 90s to be told, if you applied yourself a little bit harder, you can get 100. Mm-hmm. And like to hear that the whole time you grow up, like, hey, like 95 is great, but wouldn't 100 be better?
Do you think that, like, I think you and I went to school, and Joel's not here. We'll include Joel in all this. I believe we went to school at a time where it was like the last little bit of the old way. And I find that things, even though they're done similar, I think they're going to start evolving to a different form of learning.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that had to do with, obviously the invention of the internet, and I think invention of technology, and I think the invention of, whether it be social media or, I guess more interconnectiveness, because then people could see what
Chromebooks are like textbooks now.
Yeah, we had. I remember getting like Apple like computers,
right? The whole computer lab
in the lab, and that was like dope and awesome. And I grew up learning how to use computers, but not at the level the kids are using now. And technology wasn't there.
They don't need typing class because they learn it naturally.
I took typing classes.
Me too.
In I was a freshman in high school, and I remember taking keyboarding.
Yep.
And now I wasn't very good in keyboard. It was a great class. The teacher did a great job. I wasn't very good at it, and now I just type so often that it just like
you learn naturally.
It's kind of one where like I'm not formally trained. Like I'm sure I do stuff that's not considered correct, but I get by. And at the end of the day, I'm not writing essays. I'm writing emails. So, but I think the way that people learn now, or at least when we went to school, was very much like standardized score. High honor roll, go to college. Whatever your grade point average is. I think most people and kids, it's not what you learn. Majority of the stuff that I learned in high school, I don't remember. Mm-hmm. Science terms, math terms, history terms, it's all fuzzy to me now. But I think trying to learn, and I think what high school and junior high and all those need to find out or do now is get kids to learn how to critically think through problems, learn how to apply themselves, but then also learn how to recognize what they do and don't like. Not force feed them stuff and say, learn this, but like, hey, Dan, you're not good at, maybe math, but we know you're really good at science. And do you like science? I do like science. All right, well, let's try to let's try to let you really dive into something that you enjoy doing and not force you to take math or history. Now I get it. You want like a well-rounded person.
So more like interest and elective based.
I think
education.
more of elective. So I think the best part about going to college, I think there's a lot of stuff I like. I don't like the gen eds in college because I think at that point you're just repeating stuff you already took. But I think going in and saying, hey, these are all these weird classes that you never were offered in high school. what do you want to go and try to like learn? And you might say, I really like computer science. Well, then, okay, maybe there's coding. Maybe there's just computer analytics. Maybe there's stuff where you're like, that just seems fascinating. And then you pick those electives that are a little bit more specialized and going in and retaking Bio 101 or Writing 101. Because in theory, that was sort of been like basic stuff that you already learned. But I think going in and really trying to find like what is something that interests you and then diving into that. And I think going younger and younger, so when kids aren't leaving college saying, I don't know what I want to do with my life, I think they should have at least some general idea of what I enjoy doing and then trying to find a career that might allow me to do that. And I don't know if that's correct.
Right. I mean, I guess the counter to your elective and interest-based learning would be, what if the offerings that are more or less available at the moment don't include a lot of interests? Like, should the point of school to be giving the kids so many exposures that they eventually find their interest? Like, what if math and science are both not interests? What if it's machinery? Is that...
I think all of that stuff should be exposed to kids more with the hands-on learning instead of like sitting there lectured on a textbook. Because 95% of my classes that I ever took, I was sitting at a desk, teacher at a textbook, writing on the board, telling stuff. My favorite classes was like history when they were telling you stories. I loved it. But sitting there learning on a board, going through and just kind of looking at like diagrams, I get that's how you like a form of learning. I love lab because you sit there and actually do stuff. And I found that I just applied it better and understood the nuances as I was doing it. Like I never went to CV Tech. Now I'm looking at it like CV Tech when I was a kid. You always looked at CV Tech as like the meat, like a that's not as you went to CV Tech and you didn't go to like AP math,
right.
But now I'm looking at it, I'm like, I wish I would have went to CV Tech. It's way more applicable to life,
right?
And I think if I could go, when you talk about going back, if I could go back into high school, I would have taken the tech math, the tech science classes where you got to spend more time in technology, and then I would have went to CV Tech and learned a trade, and then I would have again. Hindsight, there's a lot of hindsight. I wouldn't have gone to college. I would have just found some kind of trade route and went that way. Or I think what's going to replace college eventually is people are going to go into colleges when they find that degrees aren't as needed, where you go in and you find some type of specialized 1 or 2 year course that you can take and just really hey, I don't need to take electives. I'm just going to go learn about that, get my degree, and then move on. And it's completely driven to have you learn whatever that is.
So it's more specific.
Yeah, like we'll take Kat. She's going to radiology school. She's going for radiology. Like she already know. Like that's a however many year course, but you're doing that. And I don't believe you need. Do you need like electives and prerequisites to get into that?
No.
Like she could have applied if she wanted to.
Out of high school.
Yeah, and gotten right into it like a 2 year program. Because I know I had a girl from high school that did that, but she was like, I want radiology. I'm like, well, that's kind of cool. She did like a fast track. My wife did massage therapy, so she did like a year of like a lot of very hands-on.
Specific learning.
Specific just for that. And it was a grind. It was almost like nursing school.
Yeah.
And you just go and you just learn that and you get all the stuff you need. And then all of a sudden, like in a couple of years, like boom, like Dan's now registered.
Yeah. The only tough part of that is, nursing nowadays is going more towards expecting and requiring higher degrees. So like I have a 2-year associate's degree in nursing, but their trend is that the standard is a 4-year degree. So I'll be locked out of opportunities until I get a 4-year degree in nursing, ignoring the fact that I already have a 4-year degree.
You really couldn't move up unless you go back to school.
Correct. And it ignores the fact that I have a 4-year degree already.
And the fact that you've already have on-the-job training.
Right. I totally agree, and I can appreciate the desire for a 4-year degree and what it brings. Like nursing school is a 2-year degree, was super focused on the essentials to be a nurse and the essentials to succeed in your own like self-paced growth after nursing school. What the 4-year degree brings in is a lot more of research. It's a lot more analytics. It's a lot more critical thinking, not about your job, but about why you do your job. So it breaks down away from the bedside nursing to more of the practical evidence-based nursing. Which, again, like I said, I can appreciate why that's important for nursing in general. I'm a little upset that my 4-year degree in social research doesn't carry any weight in that world.
Yeah. because I think a lot of times and it's tough because you have to, when we're dealing with a lot of people or you have to find some kind of standard. Mm-hmm. And I find it'd be really nice. Like what I'm working on, like handbooks for our office, and I'm like, do I really need all these like
a handbook, like a guideline of how to be a realtor?
Stuff. Yeah, well, I mean that, and just the office and policies and all this stuff, and it's like, and we're working on it, and like, well, do we need to add this and add that? I'm like, well, no, because I mean, yes, but no, it doesn't really apply yet. But as we grow, it will, and I want to have it in place, or the chance that it comes up, because a lot of it's very like gray area, where it's kind of like, let me listen to the situation, and let's just together figure out a solution.
Right.
But when you're dealing with, you start getting to like companies or like this at college. Well, now in order to get to this level, we have to make some kind of standard for thousands of people. Where I guess on a small scale, they could be like, well, who is it? It's Dan. Yeah, he knows what he's doing. Like Dan doesn't need that. We can just get Dan in. But because they have the standardized thing, then you kind of get lumped into, because some people it helps, some people it hurts.
Right. No, I understand.
But you always have that like median level where I think for you they'd be like, Dan, you got to go take this. It's like legal, you got to take it, but we know you know what you're doing. Yeah. Just like make sure you pass, so you're not like.
Yeah, and it's interesting to the history of nursing in general. Like, used to be a certificate program. It wasn't even a 2-year degree. So like you used to be able to become a nurse in the olden days with just some education that didn't require a degree. Then they started throwing the degree in there, and that includes electives that included like the essential classes. And then the nursing classes. And now it's going to a 4-year degree, potentially to a master's degree. And even the master's degrees are expected to now be doctoral degrees. So you're going to see in the community a lot more of DNPs as opposed to just NPs, nurse practitioner versus doctorate in nursing practice.
Is that to kind of filter through everybody, or has it elevated, or is that a way of kind of like, okay, now a lot of people have this degree, let's try to take a step further and really try to, maybe, you hate to say it, but like, let's kind of sift out the bottom and let's get the people that really want to rise up?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think that there's probably a big lobbying effort to require that degree because there's recidivism and there's, money to be made by requiring that degree. But there's also probably benefits from that person who, instead of just having a 6 years master's degree, took another year to get the doctoral certificate in nursing practice. They probably have some research experience or some extra step of thought process to make them a better provider in the end. Mm-hmm. Or you get people who are, great as an NP, but they just don't have the DNP.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see the trend.
You think this is happening right now?
Oh yeah, it's happening right now.
Yeah, but it has not affected you yet, or it will if you choose to rise to a certain level or a certain position.
Yeah, it's already locking me out of things.
You think that it's just inevitable at some point you're going to have to do that? Yeah. And how many more years of school is that?
It's a full 4.
Really?
Unless they take credits from my previous degrees, but I'm not sure. It's been a couple of years since I've been in school. So
wow, yeah. That's the one thing I never really want to go. I love learning. I just don't know if I want to go back and do standardized learning in the classroom.
I'm not huge on classroom learning. Like after my nursing degree, I got a lot of certifications because those were self-paced. I could just get through it as quickly as possible and learn what I need to know. And it was interesting for me to learn those things, right? So I have a certification as a certified emergency nurse, which is super practical to my practice. Mm-hmm. It helped me build a lot of confidence. It helped me put together a lot of scenarios and experiences. And then I have a trauma care certified nursing. I've got a progressive care certified nurse. It's all these certificates of things that interest me that I could go on and do myself without being shackled to a desk.
Yeah, like when you had said, like, what would you do now? Like, if you had to pick a perfect scenario, and I'm going to take out, like, pro sports. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, every kid's like, I want to be a professional golfer or something like that.
Sounds like you already are.
Yeah. Well, no, it's definitely not that good. I was playing with someone the other day and, like, shot well, and then the next day I was, like, terrible. I'm like, what? This is it. Consistency. But if I had to, like, really pick, I think some of the stuff that I would have to, if I could choose to do something that didn't involve, obviously, like, the grind to get to a certain point. Because everybody wants that. Like, can I just get to a certain level and be good at it? It's like I would love something where I could probably work as much as I love a team stuff. I don't think I'd mind just being by myself a lot, because I'm like, I always kind of myself like an extroverted introvert where I do like alone time. I do like being by myself. I do like I can entertain myself through a lot of avenues. Just doing, researching, learning, watching stuff, like actually doing things. And I think if I could find a profession where I could talk to people, but I wouldn't have to be reliant on people. And I know that sounds weird, is I'm in a business right now. I'm always dealing with people.
Right.
And I love it because I love meeting people. I love relationships that I get from people. But there's times that things just happen, and I'm like, I don't like to micromanage. But there's times in my head I'm like, I really wish I could just clone myself and be in all these positions and just handle everything, because I know.
Is that the goal of the handbook? Is to make your associates work more like you and think more like you?
They never will. You know what I mean? Like they never will.
They never will.
And people do stuff better than I'm
right.
not. But I always look at, and you try to hire, you hire people that are better at you in certain positions to like basically make up for my weaknesses and their strengths. But it's the idea that, if there's like the reliance on people where it's like, this needs to be done, and then the ball gets dropped, and it's like, I would have just done it if I knew you weren't going to do it. But obviously that's not unrealistic, And there's times where I'm like, could I have I'm always envious of people that, like artists, musicians,
right,
writers, like
self-flowing.
But you just kind of got you could I had Mark. I don't know if you know Mark Berry at all. So Mark Berry,
author, right?
Yeah, fantastic guy.
I know his son pretty well.
Yeah. So he's got a few kids, and so he was here talking about it, and now he was in real estate for many years,
right.
and he had a career before this, and then he became a writer, and I started asking him, like, what's your day like? Like, what do you do? Like, and he's like, well, I get up and do some stuff, and then I go sit down and I just write for 3-4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours, and then he'll go, I do this, and I'm like, oh man. Now, granted, I know he's done a lot of stuff to get to that level, but I'm like, I think at some point in time, I would love where I could just wake up and not have a calendar, not have a schedule, and I could just flow. Because I'm such a slave to my calendar.
Yeah,
I'm looking at my phone. I'm like, we got probably like 5 to 10 more minutes, and then it's like on to the next thing, and I'm like, I would just like to. I mean, we're all that way.
Right.
We had to work. Joe had to get back to work, and it's like, if you want, like, could we just sit here and we could have went for like 5 hours a day, just drink coffee and just relax and shot the breeze. But that would be fun to have just like a day like that where you can just like wake up.
Well, it's interesting, the author point, like to be able to sit down and do something and have that constant flow of creativity for 4 hours.
Yeah. I
can't even imagine what that's like.
It feels like it'd be, I mean, I could see if you had like the writer's block, but it seems like it's freeing because you're just like, I'm just like letting things happen. And Mark says, he goes, things just like, I don't know, it just writes itself. I'm just basically put my pen on paper, but he goes, a lot of it just starts coming in. And I don't know if that's like from a storytelling background or something. It just like comes to him. He's just like, oh, this would be cool. And I think he just kind of gets in, like you said, that flow state where it just rolls. That's where like I watch Kat like sing, and I'm like, it'd just be so cool just to like sit there and just like spend the day strumming and just singing and not worrying about anything, and just like, you're worrying about what you're doing, but it's like a freeing state. Like musicians, like, we're going to create music. And I know there's obviously stress to it. There's got to be something fun about just sitting in a recording studio, jamming on ideas and just playing licks and riffs and being like, oh, that's cool. Let's kind of jam on that. And all of a sudden they could see the building blocks and like, we got a song. And we got like, and it just, I feel like now granted, I'm probably looking at like the romanticized version of whatever they're doing. And I'm sure there's stuff like, yeah, but you got this and that, like everything else. But there's something about that. Like, I would try to pick a career path where I could just like do my own thing and still layer in some fun business and marketing on it. But like at the end of the day, I don't have to look at my calendar and be like, oh, okay, so I got this, where it's like my day's like, I don't really have anything today. I just like, I can just do what I need to do and just let it flow. It'd be very freeing to me.
I believe it. Yeah. You seem like you'd be fit in that category pretty well.
I would enjoy it. But then I always think
with the optional networking and the optional marketing.
I love that stuff. I love meeting people, but there's days where I just like wish I could get up and I have nothing on my calendar, and I can just like, I got a couple things to work on, but I can just sit down, drink some coffee, and I can just work on it, and I don't have to answer emails, I don't have to answer calls, nobody's like needing me that day, and I can just do my thing.
Day trader.
I don't know. I'm not big in You know why I'm not into day trading and the stock market and all that stuff? I'm going to go take a step back. Did you ever play the stock market game in high school?
No.
Okay, so we played the stock market game senior year. And this is kind of why like real estate's like good and bad, I guess, for me, is the stock market game. There was a leaderboard. Mm-hmm. And the idea was that like you could trade and you're trying to learn the leaderboard. So we were up against the other kids in my class. And there was like, let's say small school, but like 60 kids, so there was legit leaderboards. You could see everybody. So I'm like, there's a leaderboard. I'm going to win this.
Competitive nature comes out.
Oh, yeah. So then, because it wasn't even like, but it's just the idea of like, okay, if I just know I'm very competitive with myself, but if I see that someone's doing better than me, in my head, I don't have to beat that person, but I just know like, wait, if somebody can do it at that level, then it's possible. Therefore, I should be able to do it. So I'm not putting in my best effort if I'm not at that level. Now, obviously, that's like not entirely true because there's people that are just can be better at you than something. But in my mind, I'm like, well, if they can do it, I'm obviously not pushing myself hard enough. Real estate, same way. Like there's a leaderboard in real estate. Like I can see the sales. So me, I'm like, all right, well, here it is. So I kind of have like a little bit of like an addictive personality or addictive to certain things.
Sure.
So that day trading, the reason I don't think I would get into it, it's the reason why I don't really play fantasy football. I would go all in.
Okay.
I'd be a nut. So I actively choose not to do certain things because I know I will go all in. And
so it's my next question was, are you into crypto?
Not at all.
Because I could see you making the argument either way. Like I could see you being like a subtle Bitcoin holder or like.
And the only reason, and part of me is like, should I pay attention to it? Because I think I should from more the financial aspect. But part of me is also like, I know myself, I'm going to get too into it. Then I think it would cause problems in other parts of my life.
Sure.
Because I'd put too much time into it where it'd take away from work or family. And I'm like, not going to, or sleep or health.
Right,
I'm like, not into it.
Well, that's the problem with the crypto market, right? It's 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
So it can drop in your sleep. And if you're not set up for it, you're not going to know about it. But the idea of a blockchain is very interesting to me.
Do you understand it?
Not really. Only in the sense that it's at the same time private, but also trackable.
So I don't think people that are even in blockchain or Bitcoin even know what it is. Because I've asked them to explain it, and they're like, yeah, well, it's kind of like this, that. And I'm like, you don't even know what you're talking about. But
it's a unique number attached to your money that travels the world. You can see where it goes. But, I'm looking at your office and thinking, it probably won't be too far in the future before somebody offers to you to buy a house in Bitcoin.
I posted something a few weeks. Oh, yeah. So we're already kind of slowly establishing that where I haven't actually had someone buy through Bitcoin, but I've had people ask if they could pay with crypto. And I'm like, well, it's a form of currency. So, yeah.
You have to take at present market value. And then you as the realtor or the middleman would have to then, liquidate it. Hopefully you liquidate it when it's market value, or you take the chance of holding on to it and gaining value.
I think it would have to liquidate day of closing, and you better have enough to make sure if it did dip, you'd still have enough to pay.
Right.
And that's something we haven't dealt with. That will happen, absolutely.
Right. I think would it almost be more like working with the buyer and the seller? Like if the seller agrees to take a cryptocurrency payment form, they could then choose to hold on to it.
The only way I could not see that happening is if the bank doesn't value crypto as a form of currency.
Okay, that's
now,
fair.
if it was a cash sale, cash is cash. So if somebody's like, hey, I'm buying this for X amount of Bitcoin, and seller signs and says, I'm in. I mean, I don't see why someone couldn't do there's no insurance. You don't need, the bank's not backing it. It's just two people agreeing to something.
It's a private sale, yeah.
And then you could do it. I don't see why that would be an issue. Now, your attorneys might be like, well, but for them, it's just a new concept. So
I guess you had to pay all those ancillary people out of pocket, right? Like you couldn't as the realtor take a cut of the Bitcoin if they're holding on to it.
Unless I chose to write in like our commission is going to be paid in Bitcoin, and then again, it's at that point there's no insurance or third party saying that I can or cannot do that. If I want to choose that take that, I could. About a month ago, I came across this article we talked about on Realty Talk. Somebody paid almost $1 million for, it was like a certain amount of acres in a virtual land.
Ooh. So
if you go on my Instagram, go back probably like a month or so ago, and the whole idea, which got really trippy, and honestly, Dan,
I've heard about similar things to this.
This might be just based on time. Might be episode 2 with Dan Frederick, because there's more stuff I want to get to, because we like I said, I think we'll probably dive into a lot.
You want to shout out your Instagram real quick?
At Galen Trombley. So very spell. It's actually in the intro to my to the podcast. I actually spelled out my name multiple times because I just said now it's like people are like, okay, I get it, but I'm like, you won't forget how to spell my name because people usually do.
For those listening through the airwaves, it's spelled
Gaelan. So, but they bought. So I was talking with Ellie about this. I said, we always talked about real estate. You can never run out of real estate because it's finite. It's like they only make so much real estate. Well, now if you go into virtual land, technically it's not like real. You can't physically feel it. But as with anything else, cost of goods is only based on supply and demand.
Value applied. Yep.
100%. So if a virtual land then becomes worth more money than the house, on the ocean side of Malibu, is that worth more because there's more emphasis put on it? Now, I'm like you said. Well, you said it before. Like you can change my mind on pretty much everything with the right amount of facts. I'm very open to the idea of like could I at some point in time be a realtor or whatever in virtual land? I list virtual property and help find buyers and be that agent to facilitate a virtual. I mean, it would be kind of cool, I guess, because it'd be like technology would then allow us to lessen the amount of time committed to certain things. Like, it's like showings. How do you show virtual land, virtual homes? Like it's all virtual. So it's, I don't know, but I in my mind, I'm like, that's probably going to happen because the way technologies happen at such a rapid clip, and I expect to be in this field for 40 more years. Like I really think at some point in time, virtual is where is a possibility. I mean, you're always going to have actual land, but you're going to go into that too. So it's kind of like never say never, or never say it's not going to happen. Like it probably will at some point.
Right.
To quote the great Justin Bieber.
I'm texting you a podcast episode from, if we can shout them out, Planet Money, NPR podcast.
Sure, go ahead.
They did an episode very similar to what you're talking about virtual economies. And like we said, it's just whatever someone will pay for it, right? So why can't somebody buy a virtual house and furnish it with virtual objects paid for in real money?
As long as someone values that and thinks that there's enough whatever. And who was it? The artist that sold something that wasn't even art, was invisible. Did you see about that?
I mean, I've heard of like the people selling air guitars on eBay.
Yeah, well, someone sold like a something crazy amount, and it was like and he called it some kind
That's
of
very
art.
Banksy,
Yeah, but it wasn't art. This is a couple years ago now, so maybe it was broken. But the most expensive work of art sold by a living artist was in the I think it was like $80 million, and it was a metallic bunny. If you look it up, it's the most expensive, whatever it was called, work of art or whatever, from a living artist, and it was a metallic bunny that probably stood about this tall, and it almost like reminded me of like the Playboy bunny. It was kind of like this, like no features. It was just like the shape of a bunny with ears, and almost like a snowman with bunny ears, made of some metallic texture. And it sold for an insane amount of money. And I'm like, so who would pay 80, 90? Like I've told this to friends of mine that do art. I'm like, if somebody take that. To me, if I saw that in a junkyard, I mean, I'm just putting it like from the value someone puts on it. If I saw that in a junkyard, I'd be like, that's funny. It's like a bunny. Or if I saw it in like a thrift store down in Plattsburgh, I'm like, I don't know who would buy that. It's a big metallic bunny. It's $5. Yeah, I'll buy it as a joke and I'll give it to Joel. Like, you know what I mean?
Right,
you have these funny things, but this person paid that much for it. So I'm like, obviously, was it the person's name? Was it other people that thought it was cool, and because of their status, they wanted it over that person? You don't know what people would pay for or why they pay for it. But that's always in my head of things like that, where I'm like, that's a little...
I mean, the whole art world is crazy. Look at NFTs now, speaking of crypto, right?
I don't know enough about those, but I know those are obviously popping. Like
it's a really cool idea to attach an identifier to an object and then have a verifiable payment history for it. So if you bought that bunny, you would be able to know by the non-fungible token attached to it who made the bunny, what year they made it, and how people bought it before you, what they bought it for. And that artist gets a cut of the sales every time, right? Because if you buy that bunny for $4 million, right, then you get sick of it after 10 years. I'm like, Galen, that bunny's great, but it depreciated a little bit. I'll give you $3 million for it, right? You sell it to me for $3 million. That artist doesn't get any of that 3. They only got the 4 that you bought it for.
But if it appreciated above, they would have got the cut of the above.
Not even. If it's an NFT, if you have an agreement with the buyer when you bought it or the seller when you bought it, that in perpetuity they get 2% of every sale. right? So you bought it for 4 million. I bought it from you for 3 million. The NFT attached to it states that original artist gets like a royalty fee for it.
So, because like NFTs, I've seen NFTs being like, if you bought one of these, this gets you access to something too.
Right. So it's NFTs are just a simply non-fungible token. It can be anything. People can buy, or people are selling like their unique memes. You know, so like the person that made the meme of the success kid that's eating sand on the beach. I'm sure you've seen that one.
Yes, the kid's like,
yep. They sold the mother of that kid, whoever took that picture, sold that as an NFT. So they still have their name attached to it, and they sold it to somebody else who now owns that image. But if that person ever sells it, the original artist gets a cut.
It's trippy, but
it
all comes down. You said what value you put on it,
right?
And I mean, real estate the same way. There's no price tag. I always tell people there's no price tag on real estate. Someone's asking for something. Will you be willing to pay it based on a lot of factors?
So imagine if you, as a realtor, knew who built every single house in the area, and every time somebody sold a house, the builder got a cut of it because it was their name was attached to it in some way, in perpetuity. That's kind of what an NFT does. It allows a transaction history to be attached to an object, to be verifiable, to be trackable. It benefits the artist more than anybody else, in my opinion.
So when you create it, but in order to create it and have any value behind it, you have to do something to get to the point where someone would value it.
Well, yeah, but that's true for anything, right? Like you could build a house, and if no one values it, it's not going to sell.
But I mean, if hypothetically, I create an NFT, however, and then Elon Musk.
You could create a Galen Trombley show NFT.
But if I did one and Elon Musk did one, the value someone would pay for that grossly outweighs what I would have, just because of what we've done prior.
Right, but you couldn't make the same one. You could not make an NFT based on the Tesla logo.
Correct. Yes.
But he could.
Yeah, and I mean, Elon could make one based on this mug. You know what I mean? In theory, if he created the mug.
Or Kat could make one based on that mug because that is the mug that she made.
So if Kat made this as an NFT, which would actually be digital, wouldn't be the real thing. It might be an image of.
Well, it still would be a non-fungible token that's connected to that mug. So it would go in like a digital wallet. As
Correct.
Galen Trombley is the owner of this mug created by Katrina Rigsby on this year, and it's a digital tracker for that object, or it's a purely digital object.
And again, no offense to Katrina, but like if I had that at this point in time, and someone would be like, oh, "What's that worth? X amount of money."
Right.
Then all of a sudden she goes internet viral with her singing, and all of a sudden becomes this massive music star. And then I'm like, "Hey, remember that mug you made back in college?" And I'm like, "Wait." That girl made that mug. Now it spikes in value so a lot of it is dependent on other factors, but it's a very cool concept. It gets back to that bartering. It gets back to the old fur trades back in the day, and it's like, I'll give you this for that. And I find there's a lot of value. It's like the guy that bought a house with paperclip, like that story.
Building up. Yeah,
he kept trading.
We played that game here in town when I was a kid.
Really?
Yeah, it was kind of cool. I ended up with a TV.
Really? So my whole thing was Pokemon cards. I did that.
Okay. I
started out with Pokemon cards. I ended up getting one Pokemon card. Girl gave it to me. And I was like third grade. And I remember trading up, and I kept trading up, and I was like, hey, I'll give you one of these cards for two of those cards.
Oh, that's really cool.
Then I got two. And I'll give you one of these for one of those. And all of a sudden I get the shiny ones, the hieroglyphic ones that everybody were rare. So I got I'll give you these 5 for that one. So I just kept leveling up, and a lot of it was a sales presentation. I think this is worth that.
I'm sure you were good at that as a
It was just something that naturally came to me. But then I remember getting a Charizard. Now I wish I had the Charizard because they're worth money.
Isn't that crazy? The whole other economy of trading cards.
Which actually, I got to go. I still have Pokemon cards. I have to go find them, and I want to literally just liquidate them now because I think they're going to drop in value.
Oh, for sure.
Because what happens is right now we're tapping into the nostalgia of people our age that are having kids that now are getting popular and whatever. Yep. So I ended up trading the Charizard for an entire book of somebody gave me all their cards for one Charizard. I remember getting the Charizard and I'll give you my entire binder of cards for that. I'm like, deal. And I ended up trading back, and I got another one. But at that point, I had say 200 cards for one. I'm like, absolutely. Now I have this huge portfolio.
That's super cool.
Yeah. Now I'm going to take 10 of these. I don't care. I'm going to take 10 for one, and then you start trading because again, he valued it so much. But maybe that one doesn't value their Charizard as much, and then you got it back. So, Dan, again,
right, man.
Because of time, we got to wrap this up. But I would like to have you back sometime in the future, kind of like Joel. I'm like, when's Dan coming back? And all of a sudden. Might be a year from now, but hopefully
it'll work out.
This was good. Episode 150.
It was fun, yeah.
Episode 150. Brock, the only guy to ever bring a whole thing of coffee, which is near and dear to my heart. And
he said I was the first client to get you coffee in a sale as well. So
yeah, and you also brought me some good beer too.
Oh yeah, it was spicy, wasn't it?
You brought me. It was decent. It was a pretty heavy. I drank it that night when I got home. It was a heavy. It packed a punch.
Yeah, it was a spicy coffee beer, I think.
Yeah, it was a good. I got it
at Old Mountain. Yeah,
Old Mountain's. That's at Old Mountain, right? The counterculture. No, it's great. Yeah, we'll do this again. This is fun.
Man.
Good
Awesome.
catching up with you. Good seeing you again. And
I'm sure I'll see you at the coffee shop or something.
Yes, this dynamic between you and Joel was great because half the time I didn't realize that everything you just did,
so
Joel's head was spinning. My head's spinning more, but Joel was spinning. He's like, wait, that's why you had me?
You should see us golfing sometime. Like I haven't actually stick golfed.
Golf or disc golf?
I haven't stick golfed since high school. I worked at Bluff.
Is that what it's called, stick golf?
I mean, that's what I compare it to. Like if I say golf, it's golf, right?
Yeah.
Frolf would be frisbee golf.
Okay.
But you should see us out there doing that sometime. And
Joel's like this. So this is golf, like how I know it.
I have not golfed in years, but I'm going to go back into it, and that'll be hilarious to see. You might see me on a tournament, just having a hilarious time.
I'm down.
You should come see us disc golf, or come disc golf. We go to Katie'ville. Sweeney Plattsburgh has this course.
Really?
We just drove to Saranac Lake. Went to Paul Smith's for an 18-hole course.
Oh, you guys are in it.
Oh yeah, we're having a lot of fun.
Chris Verkey?
No, we haven't gotten part of any of the local leagues yet.
Chris Verkey is winning tournaments. He's a very good athlete. He went to Plattsburgh State, All-American hurdler, and good athlete, but he's into disc golf.
Not to derail or prolong this, but apparently disc golf is blowing up right now. Like there's an ESPN channel for it. Like ESPN2 is taking it on board. There's a PDGA.
I've played it once and it was fun. It is fun. I only played it once.
But it just like golf, right? It's all about technique. If you don't have the technique, you're not going to have fun. You're going to be off in the woods. Yeah,
you got a little bit of different equipment. So, all right, Train's going to lead us out here. That's episode 150. We got another round number, historical number. We're only 50 away from Elon, so this is great. But Dan, I appreciate you coming on. Joel, I know you're not here. Hopefully you listen to it. Hope you enjoy that tie, and thanks for coming on, buddy. And that's it. Episode 150, Galen Trombley Show. Thanks for listening to the Galen Trombley Show. If you want to reach me, you can go on Facebook at Galen Trombley, on Instagram at Galen Trombley, and on YouTube at Galen Trombley. The spelling, GaelanTrombley.